Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, and I can already see I've got to turn myself down. Give me a hot second. Not for you guys on Discord. Just one sec here. 1 second. That's a bit better. Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, July the 19th, 2018. It's another Technical Alpha podcast, joined here by the usual fine gentleman, Mr. MaximusBlack, Jeff himself, PanicSwitched, Mr. Tabin.
Did you just assume our fineness, you motherfucker?
Look, it's 2018. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
All right, fair enough.
I'm just gonna get yelled at by everyone at this because I do it. But yeah, we're back for another Technical Alpha podcast. It's another summer day, which means it's another slow news day and or week in the land of basically every media thing ever until the summer blockbusters start hammering through, which we're getting there.
What are you talking about, slow week? I got 2 very important pieces of information this week.
Okay, how many of them have food?
None.
Okay, well I'm losing interest already. I'm sorry.
No, we got Monster Hunter announced for August 9th, man.
This is true. We do like there are a few things. I shouldn't say that it's like that slow. It's not as slow as last week.
Oh my god, 2 weeks ago was brutal too.
Yeah, we had a couple of just absolute gong show weeks. We actually have a few things. And Jeff, you're just getting so lucky. You should get lottery tickets. Buy a few. All right?
Okay.
Because last week we got to talk about something that you didn't want to talk about, but you'd love to give your opinion on anyway. And this week we might even have 2 in the lineup for you this time around. Don't even look at the topics.
I'm not even gonna look.
I want it to be a surprise.
All right. Surprise me.
But how are we doing, gentlemen?
Mr.
I'll start with you, Mr. Sean Connery. How are you today?
Busy. It was a busy day, man.
Yeah?
I had to get a tire slapped on my car because one of my tires, I ran over a nail and it just fucked my tire up. The tire was like brand new too, right? It cost me like $550 for the tire. So yeah, I had to get a new tire.
Downsides to supercars, bro.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then I had to go and get a washer for one of my rentals. Like their washer is pretty much done. And then I had to get my buddy to come over and do some electrical work as well. So I did that. And then he was buying a house, so I helped him with a few of the processes and things. And yeah, and then rushed home. And here I am. Literally got home like 10 minutes ago.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well,
so That was my day.
That's good. That's a good day. I would love to know where you managed to pick up a nail. Was that like in your own driveway? Like where the hell?
No,
did you...
I literally have no idea. I mean, there's construction going on all over the friggin' city right
Yeah,
now.
true.
So I think it was just like on the.
Do your tires not have like the run flats or anything, or do they just like?
Yeah,
I don't know sports tires very well.
There,
so.
it is sort of a run flat, but you're not supposed to run on them flat. Like
yeah,
these,
like maybe like a quarter mile or
a
something.
quarter. Yeah, like my tire just was done, was toast. So it's.
You didn't
GG.
bend the rim or anything like that.
No,
you managed
no,
to get
nothing
it
like
fixed
no,
before
nothing.
that happened.
Yeah, nothing like that. So
Oh, that's good. That's
wasn't
good.
terrible. Could have been worse.
Korean guy in chat. Through the nail.
Through the nail.
And Mr. Panic, how are you doing this week?
Doing all right. I spent a solid hour and a half underground today, waiting for my train to decide it was going to move or not.
Fantastic.
Even better because I had no cell signal, so I literally was like the hour and a half we were down there, I was just sending text message updates to my boss in the hopes that you get that little segment of signal to send it. And
did it ever happen? No.
No, he got like all 8 of our messages like right as we walked into the office. He had just sent us like, "Where are you guys? It's 11 o'clock, and you guys are supposed to call in if you're not coming in."
That's always. Where was I where that happened to me once? And I was stacked. I like stacked up like 3 or 4 texts. It's the shittiest situation because then when it finally goes through, you also get the other person on the other end, a blast of like 5 or 6 messages from them wondering the same thing, like where the fuck are you at, or like what happened. It's never a good time. The future. It's the future. We shouldn't have these problems anymore. We're living in the fucking future.
Oh, also, yesterday, I went full Hollywood. All right. Got my first voice acting gig.
Right, yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something that you told me this week.
So for those who don't know, I went to Vegas and we had a few people from the fellowship show up, and we do that BuzzCon every year. And my man, Mr. Miyagi, who has been a huge supporter of everything we've done, and including the podcast and stuff, and we've met before. But anyway, we were at UFC, and he just asked me, he said, is it okay if I message my boy who does like Hollywood shit, literally, and see if we can get you in a TV show to do some voice acting? He's like, I think you'd be good at it. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, sure, I'll do it. So anyway, he texted his boy, and his boy was like, yeah, let me check out his stuff. He checked out his stuff, and then he was like, dude, he's in. So anyway, yesterday I did my first gig, and it was different. Like I've always talked in the microphone for like 8 years, and I've always done like goofy voices, and I've always been like,
of course.
I've got the knack for it. I mean, obviously there's like a lot of technical stuff and like things that I'm super getting into now, but it was me getting on call with him, and he would I play a character called Clue, and it's a TV show called I don't know if anybody heard about this show. If you have, in the comment section, let me know. If not, you can go and YouTube it right now. It's called the Hollywood Puppet Show. And so basically celebrities, and like real celebrities, they tell crazy stories about their career. Like, and I'm sure celebrities have crazy shit that's gone down,
I imagine.
And so I play a character. I don't want to give too much away because I don't even know if I'm allowed to say too much about it. But anyway, I basically play the one of the best friends of a famous artist, and it's basically, if I had to paint it, it's Team America, right?
Okay.
With all the puppets, it's Team America, but Hollywood stories, and the actual celebrity is telling the story, like narrating the story, and then they cut into the whole puppet show of it.
Is this like that one of those unsolved mystery reenactment things just with puppets?
It's pretty much. It's pretty much kind of like that. So
I got a couple of friends who are voice actors. If you want to talk to them about the industry, they're actually based out of Hollywood and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, we'll link up. And we'll have that. But so anyway, I got on call with him, and he would basically, I had like a thing of lines. I didn't even know what character I was playing. I knew nothing. and he would just like, since I didn't have any pictures or anything, like I couldn't see anything, he did a good job at like sort of painting the picture, like saying, okay, so yeah, now you're in a car and there's a guy beside you and this is happening, and and then this is your line. And it was nice because I could improv a lot, so I would say like the actual line, and then we do a few takes on that depending if the inflection was right or not or whatever, and then I could do another line where I could kind of make up my own shit and like kind of say whatever I thought was funny, right? And then what he'll do is he'll take all those cuts, he'll take it to the editing department, and they'll cut it up together, and then if they like some of my takes, then they will use that, and they'll get the puppets to sort of mouth what I said instead of what was on the script. So anyway, the episode comes out it's actually the last episode of season 2, and it comes out in less than 10 weeks. So I think at the end of August it comes out, or around that. It was like 10 weeks a couple days ago or something like that, 9 or 10 weeks. So when it comes out, I'll let everybody know. So anyway, it was my first actual gig, and what's nice about it is I get a legitimate credit. So like I get like an actual IMDb, a real credit. I'm gonna be in the credits. It's like a legit thing. And so now I'm basically hooked. Like I'm signing up for some acting and voice coaching workshop next month. I signed up on a website, and I did like 9 auditions in the last like 40 or 72 hours, because I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm really starting to be able to like do it now. So I'm on the short list for a couple things already, and now I'm starting to piece together some demo reels. So I got to do a commercial demo reel, a character demo reel. So now I'm just coming up with some funky characters and shit like that, because I don't want to just do imitations. I want to make my own characters. I want to do my own thing. So I've been in the woodwork. So like when I'm not streaming, I would say like every day it's been like 5-6 hours of just like nonstop YouTube, nonstop forums, going through other people's demo reels, doing all this. I'm fucking loving it, man. It's so much fun, and you can just like kind of like just be somebody else. So it's cool. It's fun. I'm having a good time.
When you're when you're recording this shit, please tell me you're turning off the EQ and compression that's on your.
Yes. Oh okay. Yeah. I do like
under
raw,
a sheet.
Yeah, I do raw file, like raw edits of my microphone.
Because the stuff you send me is still compressed and EQ'd.
Yeah. Well, that shit is just me fucking around. And so I'm gonna do all my stuff. I do raw, and then if there's any editing needs to be done, it happens in post. So anything gets done in post.
Yeah.
So depending on what you're going for,
start sending me raw. Because I get your file and it's already like 11:1 compressed for like 3 fucking hours.
I'm gonna keep you as far away from any of my audio stuff as humanly possible.
I'm just asking for raw audio. That's all I'm asking for.
You'll be a Debbie Downer. You'll be a fucking nitpicker, and you'll ruin the whole experience for me.
I'm just asking for raw audio. That's all I want. I just want to make sure that you're not sending like crazy compressed shit to Hollywood fucking like big wigs and shit. I just want some raw audio up in this bitch.
Been sending them compressed audio this whole time, and they're like, "This guy's voice is great," and then they meet him in person, and they're like, What the fuck is wrong with his voice?
What happened?
What happened to this guy?
What happened to this guy? But yeah, no, that's fucking hilarious. And in true Mr. Black style, happened in the span of 48 hours.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
It's like have an idea and then just all at once, just everything fucking all at the same time.
I'm a voice actor now.
Yeah, bring on that IMDb page. I want to make it my desktop. I want to make it my desktop wallpaper.
It's coming.
I want your name. I want your name, and then I want your one credit, and I just want that as my desktop wallpaper.
Let's go.
It'd be fucking amazing. But yeah, my week was way less exciting than that. I have not done any voice acting or anything of that nature. Dad and I made these sound treatment panels, so that was kind of exciting.
There you go. You don't look
got
like
those
you're
back
in an
there.
asylum.
Yes, it's still empty as fuck in here. We still need some more stuff going on in here, but at least I have that shit. And I'm not gonna lie, that looks dope as fuck. I don't give a shit. That looks fire. And instead of spending like $1,200 on professional panels. Dad and I made this shit for 200, and 100 of that was the fucking custom speaker grill cloth with the shield on it. So in reality, it was probably more like $110, but we had to go big on the shield.
I made mine for 50.
Yeah, pretty much. It's buy yourself some, if you're ever at home and you're doing it, like Jeff doesn't have to worry about it too much because his room is full of so much shit that the sound breaks up, and the carpeting is super high pile. At best, you might put one panel right above your microphone on the ceiling. Everything else in that room is pretty much doing all your work for you.
When I do like voice stuff, I can't hear shit. Like it's
there's
really
just so much shit going on in there that it's really easy. But in here, and the other thing is your room is huge. So I'm in this tiny ass fucking tin can box. And there's still some echo on it now, so I've got more work to do, but that did a lot. And all it is cellulose insulation inside of a frame and then wrap it with fucking cloth. And cellulose insulation, apparently, after I watched this video, they compared like rock wool insulation, fiberglass
insulation.
It's literally 85% recycled newspaper. I'm not even fucking with you right now. It's the stuff that they put. Usually, you'll see them blow it into attics.
Oh, it's like the cloth. It's the cotton candy type fabric things they spray.
Well, not cotton candy, because that would be more like the fiberglass. But but it's like the grayish looking, fluff that they with a big ass hose they just kind of fill into place. It's not spray foam insulation or anything like that. It's literally, if you look at it, you can still see newspaper. Like it's fucking. But they add like anti, it's flame retardant and it's all that shit, and it doesn't get moldy. They get an anti mildew and mold. So it's and the beauty of it is you can buy 25 pounds of it in this fucking thing for $9.
So I bought like those cheap ass Chinese knockoff copyright infringement canvas prints that they do, the art prints.
Yes.
And then I just stuck foam on the back of it.
Yeah, which is totally another thing. But there's a really cool video online where they have 3 kind of boxes, and they're all made they're made of what?
How'd you get the thing printed onto the material?
Oh, that's
the cool part.
That's just a website. It's called Bags of Love, which is don't Google that. Just actually type it in, because I feel like the Googling results might be more heinous than actually just trying to go to the website. But yeah, they're in the UK, I think, and you can just like a custom T-shirt. You just print that shit on that. They have other fabrics too that you can do. Yeah. Anyway, just they put a speaker in all these boxes and enclose them, and they were just made up of each insulation, and the cellulose is like 1/10 of the sound coming out of all the other insulation. It's pretty fucking wild. So yeah, I've got some more stuff to do, but I did that this week with Dad, and by that I mean Dad did 89% of the work, and I held the fabric. I supervised. And then other than that, it's been pretty much whatever. Lots of Octopath Traveler. That's, I guess, the follow-up to that is loads and loads.
Gotten a chance. I bought that game, and I've been dying to play it, but I left my friggin' Switch dock in Austin, and my brother has it in California right now.
Oh, no.
And I can't find a charger in my house that will charge the damn Switch. Like,
That's
my
because
USB 3 cables don't charge it up enough. Like, there's not enough power coming out of them.
Seriously?
Yeah, I gotta find one. I've done it before. Like my power bank will charge my Switch, but I don't have an outlet plug charger that I can charge the
it doesn't have enough volt. Like it's not a high enough voltage.
So the screen will turn on because the Switch for some reason decides I'm gonna turn on the screen while I charge and just leave it on and give you no option to turn it off.
Sensible. Yeah. No,
so it just burns more power than it puts in.
That sucks. Well, I can tell you that Octopath Traveler is pretty dope. We're going to talk about it, and in fact, we can roll right into it because it's a good segue. Square Enix, who remembers? Probably nobody but me, because I'm that guy. But who remembers when Square Enix publicly stated how shocked they were when Bravely Default sold as well as it did? They actually made a public statement. The only other game that they ever did this with was the Tomb Raider game, where they were like, wow, people really like good video games. Tomb Raider sold well. And then they did the same thing with Bravely Default, where they worded it something along the lines of, we didn't think people were still interested in this style of like Japanese RPG, to which the rest of the modern world yelled back at them, you're just fucking deaf, because we've been screaming it in your general direction for 15 fucking years, and you give us Final Fantasy 13-2 and every other piss stain that you can come up with. And so they did it again. Not so much in that they came out and talked about how, amazing Octopath Traveler's been selling. However, it has been selling so well, in fact, that it's sold out in a lot of places and back ordered like a motherfucker. I got a taste of that here in Halifax when I went to EB Games, and they said the entire city was sold out. But I was like, you know what? I even tweeted about it because I was like, you know what? This is something that GameStop or EB Games does every time. They try and get you in and be like, well, you should have pre-ordered, right? Yeah. It's the same old story. So I was like, all right, fuck you. You just didn't bring in enough copies, because I went to Walmart and there was literally behind
a stack,
like 30. It wasn't on the shelf yet because people at that Walmart are lazy as fuck, and the guy I had to talk to was on his phone, and he was about 6'2" with surfer hair and tanned, and it looked like he literally was only there to get gas money to go to the beach.
Octopath, bro.
Yeah, Octopath, man. Bro. When I said it, he actually said, what? He was like, what? It's like he had no fucking idea. It was whatever. So I was like,
weird ass friggin' name, all right?
I actually pointed to it behind him, and I was like, I bet you if you open up that glass case, which is exactly where they had the Switch that we bought when they didn't put the Switches on the fucking shelf. I said, I bet you if you open up that shelf, it'll be right there. So he goes back. He's like, all right, just puts his phone away and opens up the case. And literally, I thought maybe one of the stacks was the game. They had like 3 fucking stacks of Octopath just sitting there that didn't even make the shelf yet. They're like, yep, that's it. So I grabbed one of those and went off. So I thought it was that. But in reality, apparently, Square Enix just undermade. Like, they did not make enough of these games.
The GameStop I went to, like, when I walked in, he was like, yeah, we ordered like 40 copies. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. He's like, no, we ordered 40 copies for the next 4 months. And I'm like, oh. How many do you have left? He's like, I have 4. Like, just and I went in at 1:00 in the afternoon. Like, I went to the mall because it's right next to my office. I'm like, you know what? Let me pick this up during my lunch hour. So I'm like sitting there thinking, I wonder how many people are going to be screwed because they waited until the end of the workday to go pick this up.
Exactly. Now, so I thought it was the usual swoondle that GameStop was trying to pull off, but it wasn't. Apparently, Square Enix swoondled themselves.
Yeah.
And they straight up didn't make enough fucking copies. So now it's going to be back ordered for a while. And so coincidentally, because of that, probably to a certain degree, one, it debuted #1 in Japan, which is not surprising at all. But here we are anyway. And then but it was also the #1 selling eShop game. So people were downloading it, probably because you couldn't fucking find a copy anywhere. #1 eShop download in the US, the EU, and Japan. So it's been blowing it up everywhere. People are buying this shit like it's going out of style. It's reviewing really well. I'm like, I don't know, 30 hours in or so to this point. People have no-lifed it, and they've already like beat it and most of the end game content. I swear to God, they don't fucking sleep. Like they just go because the game is not. The game is pretty long.
Seemed like there's a lot of game.
There is a lot of game. You could probably punch your way through and but I don't know yet because I haven't finished it. So I don't know if you like I don't know what they force you to do before you hit the end game. So I don't know like what steps to do. Once I beat it, I'll be able to know how much time you can cut off based on that. But to this point, I mean, there's a fair amount of game, even if you did that, for sure. So, and it's a good game. I mean, my hot take on it so far is, if the stories were, and I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know for sure, but if the stories did a better job of coming together, and if some of the stories in particular weren't written like it was intended for a 5-year-old to be able to understand and find enjoyable, then it would be like an 11 out of 10. Right now, it's still sitting really fucking high up because the everything else about the game is incredible. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible. The soundtrack is absolute fucking fire. The combat is absolute fire. Everything about it is incredible, but the stories are hit and miss. They're either really good or really not so hot.
From what I've seen of the people playing the game so far, I feel like it actually did capture the essence of a lot of the old style RPGs. Because those, like, if you go back and critically look at them, the storylines and plot arcs are not very deep. They're like very like black and white, cut and dry, like good versus evil type stuff. And I feel like from what I've been seeing in the Octopath stuff, they've been doing a lot of that.
Well,
like,
sure,
but
like the
it
difference
plays out like classic style.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And the difference is, generally speaking, the delivery of it is like how they decide to, the tone, the tone of the game and the delivery of that really simple. Like everyone knows when you buy a Japanese RPG, you're gonna have a bunch of young people, maybe one or two old folks that join the young kids. Like, hello, fellow children, I'm here to help too. And then you're gonna be overcoming some like major enemy that just so happens to also be tied to basically fucking God, and then you're gonna fight God at the end, and with the power of friendship, you're gonna fucking win. And that's almost every single Japanese RPG to have ever fucking existed.
Probably the best description of a Japanese RPG I've ever heard.
And nobody cares.
You should write Japanese RPGs.
It's not that difficult. However, it's what's good about it is that like the movies do this too, right? They follow like a lot of movies and genres will follow similar arcs. They'll have similar, but it's the delivery of it that separates the good from the bad. And so far, Octopath's delivery is good and bad. But everything else about it is incredible. And I think part of its problem, if you could even call it a problem, is that I think they were very self-aware of the fact that this was going to be an exclusive to the Switch, and that they were trying to make it something that people could pick up and play on their commutes, and so everything was almost made to be digestible in segments. And so as a whole, it's a bit of a misnomer. But I haven't finished it yet, so I'll have more thoughts on it when I finish it. But if you've been thinking about it, and you're a little bit interested, the odds of it not being something that you enjoy if you pick it up, pretty slim. It's pretty fucking slim. For sure.
Have you guys played Mario Tennis?
I have not yet, no.
The game is surprisingly good. That game I have played.
Yeah, I saw. I've seen people play it, and it looks good.
It plays very smoothly.
I've just seen mixed reviews on it. I've either seen people who are like totally down for it, or they weren't particularly impressed, and I don't know why, because I haven't read any of the reviews. I've just been seeing. Yeah, I haven't been Sean Connery, so I haven't been impressed. So I don't know just yet, but it does look like it's pretty fun. For sure. Mr. Black, are you still going to get Octopath? Do you think after you've seen like this?
I'm going to pick it up.
You're going to pick it up? I think you're gonna dig it for sure.
Well, every time he's got to fly to Hollywood for one of these voice gigs, it's a solid.
Hey,
I'm
Mr. Hollywood now.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
I had to find something.
That's right. I just as soon as you're talking about your IMDb page and everything, I was just thinking of like the Disaster Artist, and I was just like, I just had that scene go through my mind. I did not hit her.
I did not hit her, ma. I did not.
Disaster Artist.
Oh, hi, Mark. That's going to be one of the best fucking scenes in film, I swear to God.
Dude, have you guys actually seen The Room?
Yeah.
I haven't. I haven't. I'm so
I went to one of the
myself.
events, like one of the random events that happened recently. Every time Wiseau was there. I was like, what the hell? Like, why is he here?
I have a question for you guys. We're not in the movie time yet, but I'm going to throw it out here anyway because it's on topic. Does Tommy Wiseau have a chance at becoming so infamous that he legitimately becomes famous?
Well, he's already kind of famous. Like he's like.
But is he famous, or is like the movie he technically played in the like?
James Franco said it best. His movie is so bad in such a way that it's actually really good. But
It
you
came-
have to think about it. A
It
lot of
came
people,
back around.
yeah, a lot of people would actually kill for the kind of success that The Room has, because people are still watching it. Like the Room is a movie that
It's a
people
shit
can
show.
honestly
It's a
say.
shit show, dude. Like
Yeah,
I
they'll
watched
be
the
like, I've
Disaster
seen that
Artist.
movie like 10 times.
I watched the Disaster Artist. I never saw the movie, and I saw clips of it, obviously, and
Of
like
course,
people
yeah.
making fun of it and shit. And I watched like this video of a guy like going through all of it and how it was like a genius film and shit, and it looked terrible. But I saw the Disaster Artist, which was actually a good movie. Like it was really well done. And then I went and watched The Room, and I was like, oh my God! Like
I'm
this is
I'm
the
gonna watch it in the reverse. I want to see The Room first, and then see The Disaster Artist.
yeah. You should definitely watch them both because it's gonna make your night.
Oh, it's
Tommy
it's
Wiseau is already
fucking good.
famous. Like they should like there's like events. James Franco was saying he's like there was a random showing of The Room, 15 years after it came out in Austin, Texas, and people are like Tommy Wiseau was there.
But
and then
does
like a couple of
he-
weeks later, it's like in New York, Tommy Wiseau was there.
But does he ever get another role ever again?
No, he's
No,
not.
he doesn't need
like,
to.
This is it. He's
doesn't need to.
he's getting royalty paychecks from up the walls, man.
And
People are watching The Room all the time. He's making money off of it.
the last follow up to that would be, does he really think that it was that good? Is he actually fucking
He
a little
knows.
crazy,
He knows
or does he
it's not
know
as
that it's
crazy.
shit?
Oh, he's a weirdo. He's a weirdo.
He's a weirdo, but he knows it wasn't like a great movie, but he knows at the same time that it resonated with a lot of people with how bad it was and that people still watch it. So he plays into it.
Yeah.
He leaned into the gimmick.
Yeah, you'll watch it and you'll see you'll see
Okay.
how he feels about all this shit.
Okay. All right. Well, with absolutely zero segue out of talking about Tommy Wiseau, we're going to dump right into what's quickly becoming one of my favorite things that has had a bit of a renaissance era, and that's Michael Pachter. He's back. He's back at it again. He's making his wild, crazy predictions. But this time, I might actually agree with Michael Pachter. It doesn't happen all the time, but once in a while, I agree with him. I don't know if I wholly agree with him or if I just agree with him in parts, so I'm going to toss this one out to you after I talk about what his latest has been. He's come out and he's talking about the fact that he is certain that Microsoft is going to launch the next Xbox before PlayStation can launch the PlayStation 5. Do you guys agree or disagree with that statement? Do you think Microsoft is going to kind of get a jump on PlayStation for the next generation of consoles?
So I'm gonna jump in on this one. So just like we were talking about The Room right now and how Tommy Wiseau knows it's so bad it's good, Microsoft understands that the Xbox One is not so bad that it's good. It's just bad. So they got to do something to kind of get momentum going. And Sony's kind of been saying we're good with the PS4 for a while. So really, the only card Microsoft has to play is we probably have to do something new hardware-wise, because the Xbox One is not doing so hot. Their titles aren't so hot. It's going to take them some time to get some games out, even though apparently they're announcing a bunch or something. But, they need to do something to shake it up. And the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, short of them being like, oh, we have 4 new major exclusive franchises, is, hey, we're going to launch new hardware that's like a new generation. That's all I can really think of.
What do you think, Mr. Black? Do you think they're going to try and jump
Yeah.
the gun on them?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. And if the shitty part about it is if they come out at the same time and the Xbox is not more powerful than the PlayStation, or they don't have those big exclusives, they're gonna die. They're gonna die right out the gate. So instead of taking the chance to directly compete at the same time against Sony, it would be smart that they bring out right away, or sooner than Sony, so that really you're not giving people much of an option. Like, sure, some people will wait. Obviously, the fanboys will wait, but if there is a new console just kind of dangling in your face and you got to wait another year and a half before Sony comes out, then, impulsively, you might just want to be part of the crowd and just buy the new console, and which you may not have bought otherwise.
I feel like they have to avoid getting Dreamcasted, though, because that becomes a risk if you release too early. I feel like Microsoft would have to go big on the hardware, because they've been hedging conservatively with the hardware they've been releasing. I feel like they would have to go big on the power of the hardware, and then
Mm.
also they'd have to do the timing right so that Sony can't just one up them on cost and development and just come up with something that's like slightly incrementally better. Like they'd have to catch Sony with their pants down, which I think is going to be it's an uphill mountain for them to climb.
Yeah,
There's just a lot of things to like balance.
yeah, and I again, I'll agree as well that they're very likely to end up, you know, launching before PlayStation 5.
Would love to see a great console from them though.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I would love to see something good coming out, like a big one.
Well, I don't even think it's the Xbox One or the Xbox One X are bad consoles. They just don't have any fucking games.
They're just not competitive. Like they're all right hardware wise. Like again, the main reason I sold mine was because the games that were coming out were buggy, and the horizon of games that were going to be coming out not very promising.
Yeah,
But then Sony always is like, "Oh, we've got these awesome games coming out." And I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah, which is the problem. So now what we saw at E3, where they bought up a bunch of developers, we talked about that when it happened, and the fact that they are a bit behind as it stands, and that they're, you know, really pushing this stuff like the backwards compatibility and all this shit. It all kind of makes it look like they're getting in the crouching position. They're getting ready to jump. They're just they're getting ready.
They're
getting
getting
settled.
time that they need to do, but they're getting ready.
And it makes relatively good sense. And I think they almost need to do it like Jeff was saying, just so that there's the you know, FOMO. It's, you know, let's not miss out on this hot new toy that comes out. No matter what anyone says about, you know, not having any games or any of that shit, whenever a new console lands, there's always going to be a shitload of people that want to be there on day one, no matter how expensive, no matter how risky it is, to get it, because it's the new hot shit. That's what it is. As long as there's one game that's even remotely fucking promising that launches with that console, it's going to sell. And it's probably going to sell a fair amount. I would suspect that it's also, whatever comes next is going to be fully backwards compatible with the Xbox One library of titles.
It's the only way they'd be able to stay competitive for a while.
They have to do that, and of course, it's also going to continue the backwards compatibility deal that they're doing with the older Xbox games. It might even be able to do it a bit better if it's a more powerful system. So it'll open up a lot more possibilities for them in that respect. I think it's almost a guarantee that it happens. Now, the next question is, when does it happen? Like what year does Microsoft safely run this out? Because we haven't even really heard of, like, the closest we've heard to it is in that E3 conference. They did talk about future consoles. That's as close as they got to it.
I think 2020.
So
yeah.
Realistically, the only time that Microsoft is probably going to announce a new console, since they're a North American company, is probably E3. I doubt they might do CES if they're desperate, but I don't think they're at that point yet.
Gamescom is bigger than E3 now.
Yeah, but Gamescom is not in the States. So Microsoft likes that home court stuff.
Maybe.
They might,
yeah.
I'm thinking they might. I feel like for Gamescom, they're going to do literally like, this is what all those studios we bought are doing, and like try to build the hype that way for the follow-up into next year's. Hey, all those awesome games are coming out on our new console on launch, so they can like kind of like play it that way to like buy them time into 2020 with a hype train. Being like, we have these awesome titles coming. It's going to be on the platform, which is going to be available here, and you're going to have all these awesome launch titles. So I think they realized they shafted themselves with like no launch titles last time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Well, it was also more about watching your cable television than playing games when it launched. So
Yeah.
that was part of the problem they had anyway.
I
But
will
yeah,
say though, they made a good pivot off of that.
oh, certainly.
shit show.
It's taken them 3.5, 4 years or some shit to make it happen, but they've slowly got there in about as fast as you could hope for a company of that size to be able to, you know,
Yep.
like you said, pivot into where they are now. Yeah, I would agree 2020. And then if in some far-flung universe, Sony was also planning to launch 2020, there's a very real chance that they
happening next
launch
year.
2019.
Not
it's
2019.
next year.
That
It's not
and
happening.
I only say that if Sony were to also say that they were going to launch something in 2020.
If that's the case, I
because they
think
so
at
desperately
most-
need.
I think at most we would get it for Christmas.
Yes,
December
that's,
of 2019.
that would be it. Yeah.
If Sony's slated for like March of 2020, if they really wanted to do it, but at that, I still think that is way too soon.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
Well, I
but
don't think
who knows?
Sony.
We'll see.
I don't think so. The only reason I say this is because I think Microsoft has to get first. I don't think Sony's going to do it. Sony hasn't even
Sony
postured.
doesn't need to.
Well, they don't need
they're
to.
Still selling consoles like hotcakes.
Well, and they haven't even postured. In fact, they did the opposite. They said we're not looking at. They just outright said we're not looking at new consoles right now. So I'm gonna say Sony might not be in until 2021.
Yeah,
before they start thinking about it.
During Prime Day, we were talking a bunch of the Discords. I mean, we were talking about the sales that were going on.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, hey, the Switch is on sale. Oh, hey, there's these Xbox sales." And everyone was just like, "Are there any Sony sales? I really just want to get a PS4 now." And I was just like, "No, there are no Sony sales. Like
They don't
did not
have
put
to.
the console on sale."
Well, to be fair, Nintendo doesn't have to put a fucking Switch on sale either. But there you have it.
Nintendo didn't actually put the Switch on sale. The vendors were like,
Yeah, the vendors were doing it.
we'll give it to you for the retail price of $299.99, but we'll throw in like a memory card, or we'll throw in $30 off the game. Or something.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
what's next? What do we got?
Realm Royale. They did an esport invitational that's still in the midst of happening because I think it's a week-long dealio.
No, it's weekly.
A weekly, and then it's like a $10,000 a pop deal.
Yeah.
And to
10
this point,
weeks.
it's been an invitational with Twitch streamers, and it's been Hi-Res's opportunity to stretch their legs a bit, get the game out into the esports scene, despite being in alpha, because apparently these days you have to have an esport before you even have a full release.
Well, you kind of do.
Yep. At least in this,
Fortnite.
at least in this genre for sure. So they did it, and I have to say, despite the fact that the casters made me cringe every 5.5 seconds with some of the most amazingly awkward analogies I've ever heard, the spectating was really, really, really good.
They did some cool stuff with the scoring for this, right?
Well, the way that
Yeah.
they're scoring it, yeah. So they were doing it where it was
Kind of like golf?
wherever you placed, minus your kills. So if you won, that would be like 0, and then minus your number of kills. So you'd end up with
like golf, lowest number better.
lowest number
Exactly.
wins. Yeah, exactly.
was-
Which I think
was
is the
reading
best
that
way to
this
do
morning.
battle royale.
It seemed like I read about it on the train while I was stuck there. It was like one of the last tweets I saw, and I'm like, that's actually really cool. That's actually a really smart way to do the scoring, because it properly incentivizes killing people
Yeah, you
while
just.
at the same time.
I mean, you can
placing-
camp. You can camp, but if you're not getting kills and you're really not helping your score all that
Yeah.
much, unless you're planning to win, and
Yeah.
even still, somebody that came in second or third could
If
still
they
have
even
better
get a
score
couple
than you
kills
because
more
they're
than
out
you.
there killing. Yeah. So yeah,
It's
it's
a really smart way to incentivize.
yeah,
it.
it's well done so far, so good.
Yeah, no, it's done really well. I was just
Do you think
yeah,
other
go ahead.
battle royales are gonna try taking that approach now? Seeing, because I looked at that and I'm like, that is actually a really smart way to do the scoring. I feel like someone else is gonna try to use that now.
Yeah, they might. I mean, I don't know. I think we're gonna start to see Fortnite come out with more stuff to compete.
There's like the Friday Fortnite thing that Keemstar runs, and Epic has already announced that they're doing a Friday invitational event for Fortnite where they're
of
inviting
course.
all the streamers. So
Yeah.
it was, interesting.
This is gonna be a bunch of streamers having opportunity to make even more money. This is all.
Yep,
This is
pretty
gonna be
much.
one
Yeah,
giant.
millionaires
Millionaires making another 10 grand.
making $10,000 that they make a day streaming. It's like whatever. Like
Whoop-de-doo.
the money to them is like it's not even money. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I kind of wish that. I mean, I understand the concept of why you would do an invitational, because it's the best way of getting the most eyeballs on the stream, because you're getting all the communities that want to see their favorite streamers play the game. but like listening to the commentators try and talk up a lot of these streamers as the best people that play the game right now is very fucking painful, because watching some of these plays,
There's a lot of shitty players in there.
just terrible.
Like, I'm not in it because I was away, so I didn't get to sign up. I'm trying to get in on future ones now, but like I'm way better than a lot of the players I saw in that tournament. Like there are people in there that are just fucking terrible, but there are some gods in there too. So
yeah, there are definitely some gods. There are some, and it's very, when you looked at the scoreboard, it was very easy to see who was better than everyone else. Yeah, it was very, very obvious. But it did you know, from not necessarily the whole production side, although I will say, whatever they're encoding with over there is better than most every other game I've seen 1080p 60, just from a video geeky standpoint. They must be running that shit through some serious computers to get it encoding that fucking clean. But they pulled it off, and the spectator mode itself looked like it was running beautifully. It wasn't like dead static. Nothing moved too quick. It was easy to see everything. They managed to not miss that many battles. They missed a few here and there, but it's for the first rip.
Oh, it
was definitely very impressive, for sure. And so hopefully it continues to do well for them, and helps them, you know, grow the game really at this point, which they desperately need because their patch is fucked on their player base hard. So now they've got to reverse that shit.
Yeah. Well, the state of the game right now is actually the best, might be the best that I've ever seen it, in terms of balance. And it's still bad. Like now they're talking about
they fix the hit scan weapon problems, or still not yet.
There's still a couple of small issues. It's nothing crazy, especially on most of the weapons that people use. They're fine. The biggest thing right now is I know they were talking about potentially getting rid of the warrior doing damage when he lands on you, using his active. So like his jump.
I've been asking for that shit
because it's the only class that does damage.
And it's a lot of damage, and the AoE is fucking huge.
Yeah, it is big, and you can, and people are just using that as an engage, because that's what you do now with I mean, that's what you always done with warrior, but you know, warrior's so strong that it's
buff the axe. They've got the shield potion,
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
All that fucking health. Like now you have a frost axe on top of that. You pop a shield, you jump in, you do 400 damage. You hit an axe, you charge, you do 400 damage. You turn around, you hit another axe, dead.
Game over. Yeah,
dead. And there's pretty much nothing you can do.
And the with the assassin with the concussive bomb, they're considering getting rid of all damage, so it'll only just bounce you around. Yeah, which is what I've been saying for the longest time.
Both of us have been like, just
there's enough. It does its job. Like because it's super easy to hit. Like I remember I got hit by it the other day, and it was like I'm standing here, and the concussive hit past my shelf, and it still blew me to the side and did like 400 damage. I'm like, what the fuck, you know? Like it's ridiculous, and there's not much you can do. So those are the two big things that they're talking about now. I think they're probably going to wait until after this tournament, or you know, I don't know when they're planning on testing this, or if it's already in test servers or not. But if they fix those things, it'll be in a really good place. But right now, you know, for it being an alpha, I call it a beta.
It's definitely not alpha. They're just they're definitely milking that a lot. Yeah.
But for where it's at, so far so good. The esport thing is working out for them. It's fun to watch. We just need a replay system. Just give us a replay system.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That'll definitely help. That'll help like proliferate the game even more than they already are, and yeah, for sure. But yeah. I've got drainage stuck at the back of my throat. It's driving me freaking crazy right now. Let's see. What else we got touching? Oh! Last week we talked about just how bad the Culling 2 was doing. Just a hot mess. Released with like 3 people playing the game. Literally like 3 people playing the game. Absolute garbage. I watched a video. I hadn't seen anything. Jeff, did you watch any video on it?
No.
Bro? You need to see just how bad the game was. So Jimquisition has a video up you can watch. I think was the one I watched, if I'm not mistaken. And when he eventually did get into a game, which took for fucking ever because there was nobody playing, there'd be like 7 people on the map, and the map is fucking huge. And so you just run around, and nothing was happening, and it looked like the most discount, beat up shit H1Z1 you've ever seen in your entire fucking life. And then somebody would come across somebody and shoot, and then that was like the fucking show. Or you'd just get into a game and you'd win because like nobody else was there. Because the server would give up and just say, all right, nobody's here, let's start the game, and then you just win. It looked like a game that you put together at a game jam. Like some shit you'd have like a weekend, you go to like a convention and you just slap some shit together. It looked like that. Mixed with like a shitty asset flip. So it was just a gong show all around. So what they did was they came out and they said, all right, guys, so we fucked up. Bad. We get it. So we're gonna pull Culling 2 off Steam entirely. Gone. And we're gonna reinstate the Culling 1, and we're gonna work on taking that game back to where everyone was, a little bit happier with it, and just build off of that game. Yeah, instead of trying to do 2. Now, how much goodwill they have left after all that gong show, I have no idea. But, I mean, really, the bar is not high. They just have to beat more than 11 people.
Hey, Adam, have you ever fucked up so bad you just died?
I'm still here, so thankfully, no. I haven't gotten that bad. I've done some stupid shit, but I haven't just died. But
I really just want to know what they were thinking when they were like in the studio being like, man, I think this game is ready. Let's launch. That it was so bad that a week later they're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this.
You know what it was? A bunch of young people, and they saw the success of Fortnite and PUBG and even H1Z1, and they said, guys, look at all these big names coming into this space. We need to get this shit out yesterday. And so they just got it to a point where they're like, yeah, this might fly. And then they wrote one of the most, like, heinously hyperbolic fucking descriptions for a video game ever. They were like, the most high-action, high-octane, thrilling battle royale experience you'll find fucking anywhere. Like, the description was brutal. It shot so high, there was no way they'd ever hit it. And then on top of the fact that they did that and then have the game come out and nobody fucking play it, nobody fucking watched, like, anything. They didn't give a shit. Everyone just angry. It made it 1,000 times better. So I don't know how they plan on pulling themselves out of that fucking pit. But good luck.
Good luck.
Speaking of pulling yourself out of a pit, No Man's Sky has their next expansion coming in like 5 days.
It hits on my birthday.
Yeah. So this update is representative of if there was a pit physically, and Sean was at the bottom, starting on the launch, with all the fuckery that went down with that, and every death threat and every fucking shit, 2.5 years or 2 years of the internet shitting down Sean's throat and Hello Game's throat, and they just quietly just keep releasing free updates, and so Sean's just climbing out of this fucking hole. If that's the case, then we're panning out to the outside of the fucking hole, and this is the last hand reaching over the ledge, and then we cut to fucking black, because this is the one that brings true, actual fucking multiplayer to No Man's Sky, amongst other things. But true, honest to God, I see you, you see me, we can work together, we can travel together, we can do battle together, we can be on a fucking, like, massive-ass ship in space together, we build bases and shit, all together, holding hands and skipping off into the fucking sunset, on top of adding, like, a big visual update in terms of how the game auto-generates shit. It looked like this is also third person as a viable thing now, so you can do the game from third person both when you're running around and when you're in the ships. And probably some other shit. But we got a trailer, and Sean said 7 days. And so it's basically they just drop that shit out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
They announced it actually about 2 months ago.
Well, they
3
announced
months
it was
ago.
they announced that it was a
I knew
thing,
the
but they
date. I
didn't
knew
say
the
like
date was coming,
a date or a
actually.
trailer or anything. They just showed
They
up
didn't
and
announce
like,
a trailer. They said the next update, and I knew it was coming on my birthday for about 2-3 months now. But they're like, here's some basic details. You'll get more much closer. So like,
I
we knew
was
it
unaware they
coming.
even released a date. I had no idea there was even a date until the trailer. I had not a fucking clue. And I followed them on Twitter, so I don't know how the hell I managed to miss that, but we're
I
there.
think that one came out of media reports as opposed to like them just announcing it.
Yeah, probably. But it actually it actually looks really fucking good. Now they have a way of showing I didn't put the trailer in. I probably should have put the trailer in. And it does look fucking amazing. Are you looking for it, Jeff? Do you want me to find it for you?
Yeah, I'm looking for it now.
Okay. I'll probably be able to find it here in a hot second. Yep. Here we go. This is just from. I'll put it in the chat for the stream here.
Okay.
So this is on PlayStation's YouTube, but it's the same trailer for everything. So now they do the standard showing a lot of stuff that actually does totally happen in No Man's Sky, but the frequency of seeing this stuff is not that fucking high. But they've certainly, with all the updates that they've included over time, where we have the base building, we have the portal, so you can actually inhabit multiple planets now and not have to worry about literally trying to find your way back through the fucking massive space. They have underwater now with base building as well and finding shit underwater. You can see that it's all, this whole trailer is in third person. You've got people walking around everywhere. Yeah. It looks like a totally different game. In fact, the visual overhaul...
Yeah, it looks nothing like the game I played before.
Like nothing. Especially if you haven't seen any of the other updates with the base building and how they changed how a lot of stuff works. So there's a lot of shit. There's an actual more expanded story now. There's a lot going on here that probably not a lot of people know even exists.
Just the rage bubble they're in.
Just because people are I've never seen a grudge held so much in my entire fucking life. It's like Sean came to their house and killed their dog and fucking like slept with their mother and just fucking spit on their hand and slapped their father and walked out. Like that's the kind of grudge these people are holding against this fucking game for 2 years. And they've just been silently like for free putting all this shit out, and here we are. Finally here. So I think I made the estimate that once they had true multiplayer into the game, they might finally stick a toe in the water and be like, guys, we're gonna try this. We got some more content coming, but we want you to pay like $4.99.
I think we're gonna see cosmetic ships and stuff.
Yeah, like there's got to be something, because they've now gone from the launch, which they sold a shitload of copies, and then they got refunded like fucking just. So they lost a ton. They've been sitting at like 1,500 concurrent players hourly on Steam Spy for ages. So there's not been a lot of like super fresh blood. Every time an update comes, they get a couple here, a couple there. So they're
800 times more than the culling.
Yeah, they're still running. Yeah, they're still running on like the fumes from their sale on launch, and they're still doing all this free content. And it's not small content updates. If this multiplayer update was the first update that they had given, that would have brought the game up to the lofty heights that Sean was talking about when he was doing interviews. But the other updates
launched though with this one, so it's not like it's going to be completely empty. Like they'll get some money.
Oh yeah, oh no, Xbox people will be involved too. So that'll also add to the player base, because it's been PlayStation 4 PC exclusive for a long while now. But what was I saying? Jesus, fuck you! You derailed me. Fuck me.
You were talking about DLC and them just getting out of the hole.
Whatever, fuck it. So it's coming out. It's coming out, and it looks like a totally different game. Oh, I know what. Okay, so they come up with all this DLC. I've caught myself now, and the DLC that came prior to this multiplayer one, took the game beyond the scope that it was originally going to have. The one like the scope that Sean was talking about at all these E3s and all the interviews and shit. So things like having vehicles on the planet side to travel around in that have serve different purposes. The freighters that you see, you can now own and operate in space, those big ass ships, and they serve a purpose as well. They're not just cosmetic. The expanded story and the base building itself, all outside of the original scope. And so now we have...
Yes, but at the same time, from the original scope, they promised that they were going to be adding to the game anyway. So it's not...
No, of course. It's
not like, it's not like, hey, you gave us more stuff. It's like, dude, you told us we're not going to give you a pat on the back for doing what you said you were going to do in the first place.
No, sure. Oh no, 100%. I think it's telling that it's taken that it's taken them this long to get the true multiplayer going. I think that tells you that it was a much bigger feat than they had anticipated. Because I want to assume that since that was like the main focal point of everyone shitting on this game was the lack of the true multiplayer or even being able to see each other. That would have been like their number one priority to get that shit out. So I think the fact that it's taken this long is a relatively decent gauge for just how big of a task it was for them to even get to this point.
You want to know how I know it was extremely telling that this was a big hassle for them? The fact that they released the last patch and they said, hey, we're giving you part 1 of the multiplayer. You can leave messages for other people.
Yeah.
Is telling me that they probably had some massive sync issues that they couldn't work out. So they used that to get telemetry and like diagnostic detail from people playing the game to figure out this is how we're going to make the syncing work and get people together for real. I feel like they needed to do that for a little while and just get a lot of data so they can figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in fairness, this is not, the multiplayer thing and all this extra content does absolutely add a lot to the game, but ultimately, I feel like people also think that No Man's Sky is more than just an exploratory, base building, whatever you want to, call it. It's a survival game. It's not EVE Online. Like you're a lot of people want to look at No Man's Sky like an 80s sci-fi movie poster version of EVE Online, and it's just not that, or even worse, Star Citizen. It's not going to be fucking Star Citizen either. And
really
so
sophisticated exploration sim, and that is it.
Yeah, for example, if you don't like Minecraft or any of the other survival builders that exist, the odds of you liking No Man's Sky, not particularly huge. So it's not like this is suddenly going to change, your perspective of the genre if you already aren't particularly happy with it. But it will make things a lot easier for people who are already involved in the game or for those who want to play with other people, because there were some major community projects that were happening before people could even see each other within the game that they accomplished. So now I imagine that's going to be much easier for them the colonization.
How many people it can handle together, because you have some of those huge communities and they have colonized systems in planetary areas.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people can you actually fit together on one of those planets?
That's Sean's probably going to be losing some weight and sweat the day that goes live, and then they see, when
the main nexus for that community group, like what's going to happen.
That's huge.
They go live.
Exactly. Let's get all the freighters and all the people on one planet and see what happens. It's just something that explodes somewhere on a server. It's gonna
the data center that burns down or something like that.
But yeah, so that's happening. But Jeff, as somebody who's not been a No Man's Sky fan, what did that trailer look like? Did it look like something that, if that was the game that you were getting 2 years ago, would that if the scandal never happened, if the great swoondling of 2016 never happened, would that look like a game you'd play?
Yeah, I mean, the trailer that they gave us before when the game came out was a game that I looked like I'd play. You know what I mean? So I mean, yeah. I actually played a fair amount of No Man's Sky. I think I clocked
We
like
all
60
did.
hours or 70
We all
hours
did.
into the game. So
Mhm.
like I played quite a bit of that shit and like I enjoyed it for what it was. But you play 5 hours of the game and you've played the game. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
and unlike Minecraft,
Especially back then, because you couldn't
Yeah.
build or do anything back then, so that was
like
really the
Minecraft,
case.
there's so much more to do.
Yeah,
And No Man's Sky, when it came out, it was just like, oh, okay. Like even all the planets looked the same. They were just like they're just different
Different
ish.
color
Like
palettes. and
yeah, like it was
textures and
just
stuff.
it's the same old shit. So yeah, I mean, hey, I'll try it out. It looks cool. I already own the game, so
yeah, exactly.
No harm.
may as well try it, right?
No harm. Yeah, no harm, no foul, for sure. Yeah. What else did we get here? I know I got. Oh yeah, right into the Star Citizen dreams. Another one of Jeff's favorite topics. Star Citizen, the biggest swoondle of them all, perhaps.
Mm.
190, the $190 million swoondle. So a couple of years ago, like 2016 or so, they had already stopped taking refunds for purchases made by backers. They had shut it down, and then they were slowly changing the end user agreement or the purchase agreement or whatever over time. Like they took like, it's like it was like cooking the lobster. So you start them on the slow boil and then you roll it right up, and it's like the lobster doesn't feel
They're
anything. It's
swindling.
like
They're swindling people.
So
But that's the thing. I'm gonna actually cut you off there because that's partially inaccurate.
Here comes Panic, the guy.
All right,
the guy
give
I
me
literally
straight.
I
Here we go.
literally got a refund back from them like 4 months ago. Like,
Okay, so here's the deal. Not everyone is.
yeah.
Okay.
Like, I literally just contacted them on chat and I was like, "Yo, can I get a refund for this one transaction I did
Mhm.
like during the holiday sale, which was like 3 months prior to when I asked for the refund?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay." And then
Sorry,
like,
we already bought 4 Hurricanes.
It
Your
took,
money's
like-
gone.
It took like it took like a week, and then my money was back in my account. So, I
So
was like,
the problem
okay.
is you are on in the great
Apparently I'm
statistics game. You are on the tail ends of the bell curve there, because the vast majority there are apparently hundreds of unprocessed refund requests that have been piled up for years at this point that they've never tackled. And like I said, they started changing the agreements slowly over time, the wording slowly over time, to the point where now, today, you are not even allowed to take them to court over it. There's no legal recourse that you have to
Weren't-
get, even if your refund is already in process from
Swoondled.
like years ago. There is no one guy.
Swooned.
One guy tried towards the end of 2017 or so, I think it was, tried to get them in, and the judge took a look at it and said, unfortunately, you have to go through arbitration first. And because that happened, it's now set precedent where it's now shutting people down at the court level. So now,
the guy that you're talking about, though, like he's actually well known in the community.
of course,
Partially for being a shit stirrer, but
sure,
the issue
Stir
here
away.
is the issue is he asked for a refund of his full contribution amount, which again, if you're unhappy at a point,
the
you
game's
should be
not
allowed
out
to.
yet. Probably should
Yeah.
be allowed.
But here's the thing. He requested a refund on $4,500.
Okay.
Who
But-
the fuck spent? God damn
No,
it!
Jeff,
Don't you
here's
remember
the-
we did
Jeff,
the
let me-
27,000
Let
or
me finish
whatever?
the most ridiculous part of this, though. Right? That was over 61 different transactions.
Okay.
Through 2017, he was still buying into this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like just plugging along, buying things.
And then he probably said to himself, this game's not going to come out before I have grandchildren dead in the ground.
well, that's where I'm going to again, we've disagreed about that point however many times on the podcast. We don't necessarily need to go into that.
I'm
part.
not saying me personally.
No,
I'm
no,
saying
I know,
him.
but what I'm saying is this guy consistently went in and was throwing more and more money
Sure.
in, and he then went in and said, "I want a refund of the whole thing." Now, SIG has been really good on giving you refunds if you ask within 14 to 30 days. If you ask within 14 to 30 days of your pledge, they will, no questions asked, they've given refunds. Even for like, in some cases, like I asked 3 months after the fact, they didn't even ask questions. Like, yeah, whatever, here you go. Like I wasn't asking for like, I didn't ask for something that I gave them money like 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't ask for that. I was like, look, I bought this during holiday sale. Really don't want it. Can I just get a refund on it? I didn't even ask for store credit. I'm like, can I just get my cash back? They're like, yeah, no problem. And they actually like talked about it. They're like, look, 14 days is what's written in our refund policy when you pledge. We enforce it up to 30 days, like no questions asked. After 30 days, we have to allocate that money for development. We can't just leave it sitting there ready for.
You have to allocate that $190 million to development. Suck my dick.
They've been developing off of that money.
Fucking cock.
Jeff,
raw.
they've been running a 5-studio development team for 5 years.
They've been running a professional swoondle for 5 fucking years. $190 million and no game yet.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Jeff. You haven't even loaded up the game on your computer.
I don't need to.
I can load up the game right now and play it myself. I can. You can
load up a section
go on a ship that costs $9 million.
You can load up a section of a demo and do some light dogfighting and running around on the surface with some first-person combat.
Woo!
I can also go mining and explore 5 different planets and moons.
And imagine how small of an experience that is to the grandiose thing that they promised everybody.
Yeah, but
not
here's the thing.
Even a fucking.
Yeah, but you guys don't follow the actual development. You guys are arguing as if you know what's been going on. I've been following this shit for years. I follow it closely.
Look,
I see when the releases come out.
I'm just saying that's fine. I'm not trying to say that I know more about this game than you.
Yeah. I know.
You
guys can't go and drop it's a con job, but then not actually do the research on it.
Well, no, I can.
Well, we actually can.
You can't go and say that, oh, I didn't do any research. This is a con job.
We can also be wrong by saying that. It doesn't change the fact that we can totally say it.
Yeah, you can say it, but don't drop it as if you're 100% right.
I'm not.
It's like, I'm not dropping that I'm 100% right. They very well might be running a con job, but I'm going and saying, look, you can't go and say, oh, it's a con job.
I think it's very probable. I think the probability is very high.
Anything
can happen, right?
Here's my take on it. I don't think it's a con job. I just think they're in over their fucking head. I think that they've got a guy at the top of this thing that is basically like a borderline fucking cult leader status amongst the developers and especially amongst the people that played his earlier games back in the 90s, and everyone wants to basically wash this guy's pole and not even get paid for it. And he's got borderline Peter Molyneux syndrome, where he scopes out some crazy shit. The difference between him and Peter Molyneux is that there was enough people willing to give him $190 million fucking dollars to try and take that crazy scope out of his head and put it into the real world. And that's fine. And people are free to do with their money whatever the fuck they want, and he's free to go up there and make it happen. And I'm not saying that they don't have anything because they have it. I am saying that it's pitiful that for the amount of time and money that they've had, that is what they have on offer right now.
Delivering a game like that at that scale in 5 years is insane already.
I'm not saying that they're going to be done.
Okay, so what are you saying? Are you expecting it to released in 15 years? Because I'm
expecting it to release in the next 2 to 3 years.
That is fucking retarded. You've got such a small game.
Jeff, you don't know much about the game development process. I actually do this shit for a living, so I know what the ramp up and the build up is. I don't give
a shit if you suck dick on the fucking corner of Wall Street, all right? You still get the fucking taste of cock in your mouth. You know what the shit is? It is basically, this is it. This is what they're doing. It's basically a huge ministry. And you've got a fucking pastor with tens of thousands of people in a little cult pastoring, and they're looking for savior. They're looking for somebody to fix their fucking life. They're looking for an escape. They're not getting what they need in real life, so they're looking for some higher power. That higher power is that fucking twat at the top of the food chain promising severance and savior and fucking the second coming of Christ. And so you've got everybody donating everything they got. The same people in the ministry in the church are struggling to pay their bills, are struggling to keep lights on in their house, are struggling to put food on the table, but they'll give every fucking cent they got just one chance to have their dreams come true. And that guy at the top is taking advantage of hardworking people. And the way that you talk and the way that you back this shit up is the same fucking shit that those cult leaders do. They brainwash you into a vision. They brainwash you into that.
I fucking played the game.
Greedy, rich sons of a bitches that don't actually do anything, and at the end of the day, nobody gets what they want, and that's just how it is. And now people are asking.
Now you're talking like matter of fact, saying like you're
salty.
right, Jeff.
That's
where
you're
you're wrong, man.
Somebody is
you're
taking
wrong.
advantage of people's ability to believe, and it's what they want, and they promised a euphoric space crazy thing where you can get lost and forget about your girlfriend and forget about your job and fucking be some weird engineer on a $3,000 spaceship that you can get using whatever, and you can go to fucking 15,000 different planets that cost $1 million each, and it's gonna be amazing, and you'll never have to leave the fucking house, and you have a little bucket so you can shit and piss in it, and that's it. And then that's it. But you don't get any of it. Now you get this little tiny slither where you can go into a spaceship, have a shitty dog fight, and call it a day. You're so far from reality, it's ridiculous. It's a huge swindle.
When was the last time you fucking looked at the game?
When
Jeff, you can't keep yelling the same shit. You got to answer my question.
The last con they had, I watched the shit on stream, and we watched about an hour or 2 hours of that shit. And the only thing I saw were people going up an elevator, and they were talking about how cool the textures are from this fucking elevator and shit. And then people were walking into this
we watched was like 2 years old.
And they go out there and they float around in space. It was so fucking stupid.
I literally loaded the game up last week.
Stop the madness.
Okay.
Stop the madness,
oh my God.
Panic.
I do agree that it's a bit of a Joel Osteen experience going on for sure.
It's a huge Joel Osteen experience.
It's a bit of a Joel Osteen. Now, granted, okay, my problem is this. I'm not gonna speak to the too much to the tele-evangelical nature of this whole project, because it is a little fucking creepy. But
it is a little evangelistic. I'll give you that.
But the problem that I have is that we are okay. We all know that money doesn't just suddenly permanently fix a time problem. And there's obviously a large time problem when the game has the scope of literally recreating the goddamn universe down to basically getting a fucking fleshlight and a dildo on both ends and having fucking over the internet fucking sex on your $25,000 freighter. That's cool, but it takes time. However, to be 5 years deep with all the money that they have and the 5 studios and a dog and whatever other fucking like crazy shit they've got going on to make this all happen, the fact that you're telling me right now that you expect a what did you say the timeline was? 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5?
Yeah.
I'll bet money.
I'll bet money.
2 to 3 years, they're gonna have the Persistent Universe out initially. I guarantee you, we're gonna have Squadron 42 in the next 18 months, which again. Or Squadron 42 should have been out in my book, should have been out at least last year at the latest.
I want to know when the game is out. I don't want to know when the next marker can be moved. Hold on, Jeff. I don't know.
Hold on.
I don't know when because right now what I'm hearing coming from you,
whether the next point release you're talking about, right?
Yeah, because right now you're doing the move the post thing where it's like, all right, we got Squadron, then we've got Persistent, then we've got this. I want to know when the whole goddamn game is out. And I don't mean I don't mean DLC. I don't mean like extending what they have. I mean when they had the vision that they sold you and thousands of others to spend that much money on this game. When is that here? When does Star Citizen full blown 1.0? When is that on the shelf?
I'll tell you. And then Panic, you can go ahead because you're so educated on this. I'll tell you. Never. It will never come out fully to what they're saying. I believe there will be a version of the game, but it will be 1/100,000th of what they promised, and that will be the show. There will never be this universe and this fucking endless possibilities. That will never. I will bet money, and I'll bet a large sum of money because I am very, very sure that will never happen. They will release a version of the game and call it complete, and they'll say we'll continue to update it and we'll continue to do it, but this is going to be the official lease, and we've done it, yay! We'll celebrate, but it will be 1/100th thousandth of what they said it will be. That's what's going to happen, and I don't expect that for another 5 years.
All right, so what's your estimation, Panic? I thought
right.
I was as clear as I could possibly be.
No.
about
I
it.
get exactly what you're saying. So they actually, in their estimates and their roadmap, they break it out like I was mentioning. They have Squadron 42, which is a single-player campaign that they initially started the Kickstarter on before all the stretch goals. They've said based on all the scope changes and everything, they're about a year to a year and a half out, they're estimating, to getting that out as like the single-player, full campaign, everything. That if you want the single player experience, you'll get that. That's what they're targeting, 18 months or so. In terms of the multiplayer game that everyone has been talking about, and that's the one where they got the ridiculous sum of money for all of that.
That's what we're talking about, because they didn't get $190 million for the single player experience.
No. So there's tie-ins for them. They're doing a lot of the development right now to get the assets, and they're doing a lot of the testing on pre-production work for the big game on the single player campaign. So all the capital ship tech that they've already built, all of that's been done for the capital ships they're using in the single player experience. So effectively, they're using Squadron 42 as the big pre-production run for Persistent Universe. Either way, all that's just whatever fluff for you guys. But in terms of the actual roadmap, they have the roadmap for each point release that they're doing. They're doing quarterly releases now. It's not a year between releases, and they've met the last 2 quarterly releases already since they started doing it in December. So they had the holiday release, and they did one in March, and then they did one just recently for the 3.2. And they list out exactly what's going in, and they tie it to mechanics that were promised from the original. So things like this most recent patch actually has full mining with the scanning interface to actually go in and mine materials, get materials, which they integrated with the trading loop that they had from the last one, and they included salvage. So like they're actually like on their roadmap, they have the roadmap out to about 3 or 4 point releases, and they've noted specifically when they're adding new planets. So they said for launch, they have a star map, and they said for launch, we will have these systems and stars and planets done for launch. So that was something like, I think it was like 5 to 10 systems that they were going to have for the launch of the Persisting Universe, which would include a couple of planets and half dozen moons or so with stations and everything. So right now they have the one system that the game is taking place. It's actually, they said we're more or less done with this one right now. We're going to start adding the bigger planets, and then after that, effectively they're in that big ramp up phase, where you do all the pre-production work, and then you say we have all of our tools, our pipelines, or things are done. Now we can be like just push things through the pipeline. As an example, the initial ships took months or even years to get into the game. A ship they announced a couple of in December is going to be available in September now, and this was like a bigger capital ship.
Ooh, man,
So
they're overachieving.
So again, Jeff, you can be snarky as much as you want, but from a game development perspective, this is not a game we should have heard about until probably about like a year from now. But since they were going through Kickstarter and they were avoiding publishers and all that bullshit and investors and all of that stuff, they pretty much put out, oh, this is our pipe dream. So yeah, again, I agree with you guys that there's that evangelistic cult-like perspective, but in terms of it being a total con job or they're not gonna ship a game, I'm saying in 2 to 3 years we'll have a Persistent Universe in the 1.0 state that they promise, with the initial map of 5 to 10 star systems with the economy and everything, and then they'll scale up from that. So I'm going to say I say 2021 is when we'll see it. And again, all of the roadmap and shit, it's on their site. You can see it down to
I know.
down to these things.
Dude,
I know.
I don't
I know it's there.
They put on their website.
I know it's there. They've changed that roadmap several times.
Yeah,
which
but
happens.
here's the thing. But with the point release roadmaps, they're holding themselves accountable to the public. So they said these ships are going to be in these patches, and those ships have been in the patches. The tech for them has been in the patches. So
Well, congratulations. You got a few ships, man. Like, we're talking about a massive game here. This is not like
yeah.
we're
And
gonna,
they're-
it's anyway. You're
So
on the
where-
fucking sauce,
so-
bro.
so
You're
where-
so deep on the sauce. You're just
So-
you're drunk
yeah,
with
but
it.
you're on the you're saying
I
I'm
have
so
a
deep in
reason.
sauce, but
I
you're
have
on
a
the other.
reason to
You're
be
on the
other side.
Yeah, you're on the other side for the exact same reasons I'm on the side I'm on. You know, you're ignorant to the other side, just as I'm ignorant to your side.
I don't
but-
think I'm that ignorant to the other side because the proof is in the pudding, right?
But
This-
you're saying that
Listen,
even in
I
5
don't
years
think-
they're not going to deliver. I'm saying they will deliver within the next 2 to 3 years what they initially promised.
no, fuck off. I said they're going to deliver a game. I said it was going to be 1/100,000th of the euphoric experience that they set out to be, and what they sold you brainwashed, Lord loving, fucking space adventure and wannabes. That's what I said. I didn't say they weren't going to release a game. Of course they're going to release a game. It's just going to be a pile of asshole in comparison to what they said. That's what I said.
To bridge, because I'm somewhere between both of you right now in terms of this game. So where we are right now, my concern for this is that while I understand that it took them a significant amount of time to build the tools to even start producing what we're seeing now, so there is ramp up times that other games go through. Notwithstanding that they had to go through engine changes and stuff in the midst of all this fuckery, but we're at that point now. But we have such a small fucking slice, and let's say that 3 of the last 5 years was tool building, acquisition, fleshing out the development houses. That gives them 2 years to get to where they are now. It would be almost miraculous, in my estimation, if in a following 2 years, tack on for 3, that they go from where they are now to the entire pie. Whether or not the entire pie or what they're pawning off as the entire pie comes to even approach what they have been evangelistic about for this time is
one of the big misses
up in
that
the
they
air.
had.
Bad.
Yeah, well, one of the big misses, and they mentioned, is that it's hard to sell the game to people on the premise of the network tech, because right now they had to use the old Crytek stuff and the Amazon Lumberyard stuff, but they completed the new network tech that they've been working with Amazon on. So that's actually slated to come out this year. So they're doing the first part of it actually in the next point release, which is for a lot of the objects and how they're going to send them through the network compressed. And then the final one is actually the server meshing with the AWS cloud stuff. So that one, they said when they get those two in, there's going to be a big jump in performance and the number of concurrent users that you can have simultaneously in a single system. So, that one, they said once we get that, we can probably push it to a couple of 100 to 1,000 people in a system. So they're
But how do you go from such a small game of what it is right now? So it's like a demo. It's like, remember those old PlayStation 1 demos that you would get back in the day, and you could play
like
a game
magazine. You get
you
bought
one
the
of those
magazine so that
things.
you can get the demo.
And say, for example, you got to play like fucking, I don't know, Parasite Eve. All right. But the Parasite Eve that you got to play, you got to see the first cutscene, and then you got to go to the front little area and fight 4 things. And then you'd beat that area, and then you'd walk into another building, and then it would say Parasite Eve coming soon. And that was the show. That is literally where your game is at right now on the grand comparative to the grand scope that they have painted for everybody. So how do you go from that little tiny slither of a game, because it's small, sure, there's some functionality in it right now, and there's some you can see what they're doing, right? But how do you go from this, I can't even make the pie, my hands don't even like do that, to a full-blown planet?
So here's the thing, Jeff. That's part of the stuff they've been doing in the pre-production, and they've been demoing this tech a lot of the time. It's to be able to generate the planets and the moons in a proper way, similar to No Man's Sky, procedural generation. But they do that with the way of also being able to have artists go in and do it. So they've been mastering the tech. And again, they've been using it on the one system. It's just like any development project. First, you do it manually to understand the task. Then you figure out a way to rudimentarily automate it so that you can kind of, come up with a model for how to do it. And then you improve on that model and you iterate on it. So now they've got this first system that they've built out, planets, moons, and they're able to generate them procedurally. And then they don't have to spend as much time hand tailoring everything perfectly. Then once you have the tools built to do that reliably, which is why, again, we've been on the one system with a couple of moons and like a planet for the Stanton system, which is what it's called now, for 5 years since we've had it. But now in the next, like each point release that's coming in now, every 3 months, they're including bigger and bigger planets and moons and sets. So we're getting multiple things in each of the releases. And then as they're improving on the tech, they're going to scale it up much more. That's why I'm saying, so if you have new planets and systems coming every 3 months now during this point release buildup, when I say 2021, they're going to have more than enough for what they plan and promise for their initial launch. They're already working on it. They've already shown renders and builds of in-engine stuff of these procedurally generated planets and areas, and they've shown people being able to interact. They have them in their internal builds. Like, the stuff is there. They're building it out. So again, I 100% get why you say I might be being conned by it. And again, I don't like sit here and read about it all day. Every other month or something, I'll go and sit down and I just look, I'm like, oh, where's Star Citizen at? Okay, cool. I'll check back in later. And I check, I'm like, are they actually building tech? Are they doing stuff with the content? Hey, they said they were going to sell this ship. How far along are they in the build process? Are they actually
I believe they're building, man, but I also believe that they're giving you guys enough information so that you stop bitching, right? I just think they're just showing
have 7 shows a week to show progress on things, from anything from, you want to ask the devs questions, give us a list of questions. We'll go to the devs and talk to them directly. You want to see new ships? They have shows dedicated to that. Every week they're putting out content too. And they'll like directly show you, hey, we've got these forum questions, we've got these direct questions. These are things. They're like super engaged, more than any other developer I've seen. So if someone goes and asks them something, they answer the question. They show you where it's at. If they said, hey, you guys promised this, they'll actually come out and honestly say, hey, look, that didn't work out like we designed it. So this is how we're going to try to design it now. And they have shows where the developers will talk about it and say, these are the challenges we're running into, down to a technical level, and say, these are the things we're going to try to fix it with. And then if you have feedback, give it. They're very open about the dev. That's the thing. Like, if they were like siloed and quiet and silent and not saying anything, I'd be on your side of the line. I'd be like, oh, this is a total con job. But if I wanted to go and look at it, I can be like, oh, what's the answer to this question? They have content now direct from their mouths. Like not just PR people, but like developers and other people working on the project. They can come out and, they talk about it.
I personally don't think that those people would be in on the con, right? I think that they're doing their job that they've been paid to do. But I really, truly believe the guy who's running the show knows that the game that he promised is not even remotely going to happen at any point. And everybody that works is also on the sauce.
Chris Roberts has built these games before on smaller scale. So yeah, he's going for
on smaller scale. That's his biggest selling point is, dude, look what I've done in the past. Now imagine what I can do in the future with $190 million in the technology we have in 2018 or back then in 2013. Just imagine where we'll be in 2076 when this game finally gets launched. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, we're gonna get a version that is nowhere near what it is. And the funny part about it is probably someone like you, an intelligent individual, will be able to admit defeat. But I think even most of the followers, the worshipers of this, no matter what version is released, they're gonna argue to the end of time that, well, they did what they said they were gonna do, and they'll just be brainwashed in whatever end product there is anyway. It's craziness, man. It's just crazy. It's crazy. But I'm not. Listen, what do I know, right? What do I know?
I'm sticking with the I think it's going to be a fucking miracle if they do it in that time frame. You know, doing city planets and all this, like relying on so much on procedurally generated stuff.
City planet in like that one's called ArcCorp. That's I think due out in December. So
Yeah,
we'll know in December.
yeah. So like, you know, there is so much that can go horribly fucking wrong with what they're doing right now, just because of what they're attempting to do. And for the amount of, like I said before, we're 5 years in. Let's assume 3 was spent on getting themselves into position to even
It's not
press
impressive where they're
the
at.
go
Let's put it
button,
that way.
and then to get where they are now with the resources that they have is concerning. If I look, if I had spent any appreciable amount of money on this game, and I'm not saying that this is why you are as optimistic or more optimistic than say I am, and certainly more optimistic than Jeff is. But if I'm sure I would find it difficult to not want to not search my fucking feelings like I'm Anakin or some shit and be like, all right, I spent like $1,000 on this shit, and this is where we're at, and what they've got is nice and all, but this is looking bad in terms of if you know what the ultimate product is going to be, and is it even worth close to 1,000 plus. I'd love to see the average expenditure on this. If they've released that information, would be super interesting. What the average person has spent on. I'm not going to call it a game. I'm going to call it on a concept, because it's literally where it is. It's still in a concept phase as far as I'm concerned. Because, like you said,
that's correctly. It was about $100 is where the average median amount that someone spent is about $100. That would be like the game package plus like an extra ship or something.
Yeah, I'd have to know if they're using you know, the average or the like what
they actually
version
literally
of
said the
what
most common
version?
ship, and the most sold ship is the original dinky ass, like the little Aurora ship that they demoed it with.
Yeah,
that one is the one that sold the most. It's
Well,
people who
that-
just
well,
want the game and like that.
that makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested in a couple things. I'd be interested in the you know, what version of average they're using, and then just go one fucking standard deviation in the other direction and see what the jump is. Because obviously the average is going to be the dinky little fucking, you know, whatever ship. But I want to know, if you just take one step in the other direction, what the what the curve looks like on a graph for how much money is spent. I'd be interested.
I've put about, if I remember correctly, I put about 1,200 in. But again, I'm 100% okay with that. You know, for me, if the game comes out, if we get a good space combat sim, even out of Squadron 42, I've been dying for one for like 10 years, so that's okay with me. And again, I'm the outlier, so for me, yeah. But there are definitely people who have gone way balls deeper than I have. But again, I feel like it's like a sense of false entitlement, because and you see it all the time with Kickstarters where people are just like, "Oh, I'm investing in a game," and I feel like that's wrong. Like, you know, you're not investing in a game. You're giving money to someone hoping that they deliver something to you.
Yeah,
So,
but
I get it's like a slippery
they're
slope.
investing in a dream.
In fairness, rarely, and more so now than before, because Kickstarter's gone through some dark fucking ages. It's not like most of these things aren't being, you know, these things aren't being pitched like you're describing them. Like, if you understand the process of game development, maybe you suss that out for yourself. But the vast majority of people hopping on the bandwagons of these games, they're not trailing down that road of thought. And the people that are making these Kickstarters and making these games, they fucking know that, and they use it to their advantage.
Well, this guy
sell more games.
This is like one of the first video game Kickstarters that did really well. This was the first one that did extremely well. Like, you know, so we can't hold them now to the standard that they were for the original Kickstarter. And that being said, in 2012,
I can
they didn't raise the 190 in 2012. They didn't
I can absolutely hold them because it's not about holding them. Because it's not.
Why
like,
didn't they stop the funding?
It's not. Well, no, that's not what I'm getting at.
If you get it $50-60 million, and that's enough to get the ship fucking off the planet and going.
Would you, if people are giving you money, would you say stop giving me money?
Then hold them accountable. If you're going, no, but you just said we shouldn't hold them to the same standards as what they did before because it was the most successful thing. If you want to keep collecting that money and you want to keep adding planets for $1 million, then you better hold them accountable.
Let me finish my thought. I'm not saying, look. You can't hold them accountable to 2018 Kickstarter standards from 2012 on the initial Kickstarter. Now, when they're doing all of their fundraising now through their own materials and site, and they are holding, and people they're very transparent about how they're being held accountable. They say, look, this is where we are. These are the terms. Again, like Adam sussed out, they've been changing the terms and conditions. They've been updating them, but they do announce it, and you are held to the terms and conditions when you make a purchase. From the time of that purchase. So if they change the terms of service, that doesn't affect you unless you make another purchase afterwards.
Right.
So yes. Like, to bring it back to the guy who made the 61 transactions, they announced and they alerted and they showed him the terms of service every single time. I know most people don't read it, but they've announced it. And he made 61 fucking separate transactions before he decided I'm not getting. I'm annoyed.
It's less about it's less about that guy and more about the implications of what that guy did that set in motion the precedent that is now going to block a whole horde of backed up.
People told him not
refunds.
To file it because he was in the wrong. The judge even told him initially.
Yes, you have to go through arbitration.
You have to go to arbitration first.
Yes.
You can't just start a lawsuit.
So the thing about that, before I get back to the point, before Jeff ran wild like Hulk Hogan, just the thing about the legality of it all being the precedent that is now set because he mistook what went down and the judge had to turn it down. That's unfortunate, but the thing was less about that, more about the precedent and more about the fact that because of that precedent, a whole whack of other people who were definitely not the same as this guy with 61 transactions and a fucking, problem with stopping himself and, whatever. That's not all these hundreds of people that have been waiting and never getting a response from the company for going on like a year plus, right? These are not people that just are, like I said, they're not like him. So it's more about those people, less about the fact that he's out there, pressing the button every 5 fucking minutes apparently and building up all these transactions, and more about the implications that it has for the people that aren't that, who have been patiently waiting and never getting a response, and their money is locked up one way or another. To get back to the point we were talking about in terms of the Kickstarter thing, is that I absolutely will hold them to the standard that we have today, because it's not that the it's not like a legal standard. It's a fucking moral standard, which is time. It doesn't matter. It stands free of time. So to say that in 5 years that it suddenly is no longer, 5 years ago it was totally kosher to go out and abuse the agency problem that Kickstarter had with video game development versus now is, I think, a particularly silly thing to say. And they still abuse the agency problem with that exact thing. And they're not alone. Other people do it too. But I'm not saying they're the only people that do this shit. But when they hold so much more information over their head, regardless of how transparent they are with the crowd, again, you can't be fully transparent. People aren't gonna. Most people, they watch all these demos and shit. They're just seeing surface shit. They're not seeing backdoor networking shit like you would because of what the field you work in. They're not seeing it the way that somebody who has worked in or would understand video game development, they're seeing, what they're seeing? They're seeing a dude put a helmet on with a fancy fucking animation and they literally spank it 5 goddamn times to just the helmet animation. That is the level of pageantry that this company gets to enjoy amongst the masses that have funded them $190 million fucking dollars. I don't care how good this game is. It's not $190 million before they even have a publicly released quarter of the game. It's not. Nothing's worth that much money up front. You took that to an angel investor. If you were even like back in the days, like a fucking Google, and you tried to take that shit, people would be like, "You're high as a goddamn kite." I'm sticking with Ask Jeeves until the day I die fucking E. Get your shit the fuck out of here. $190 million. Come back with a completed concept, not some sort of fucking.
The money's not gone though. They still got tons of money.
There's nothing more powerful than faith, right? There's nothing more powerful than something greater than you. And that is why there's so many brainwashed people. It doesn't matter. Common sense, probability goes out the window.
Yeah, so
there's a difference between faith and probability. Sure, something may happen. The game might come out. But the probability of it coming out to what they said it was and what it was going to be it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely.
Pretty much they've said if hypothetically, say today, money stops, like they turn off the faucet of money coming in, they have already stated that they have enough money to finish the game
as was
initially promised. They said based on what's come in, if money stops coming in today, you know, we can still we can run the studios.
They should have enough for a
while,
trilogy.
Enough longer. They're like, we have enough to run the studios for quite a while to make the game. Like, it's not an issue. Like, we can stop, but they're going to keep pulling in funding.
So to kind of bring it back around in terms of when Jeff said about why stop the funding in regards to what I'm saying about the agency theory and the pageantry that they enjoy. To bring it all back to that point, which is why I wanted to try and wrap it up.
Take it home, Adam. Take it home so we can move on.
So the thing about it is that you stop the funding because you have to, like, to answer and to talk more, I guess, I'm scatterbraining here, but I'm remembering what you said to Jeff when he said that about, if somebody was people were just giving you more money, were you just going to be like, would you just not take the money anymore? There are loads of examples of people doing that all the fucking time in business and otherwise. That's not like it's some sort of special usage case. The idea that because the money's just flowing through, that they should just keep taking it, I think is a poor stance to take, because ultimately they have to sit down. They're from a business, let me put it this way. From a business perspective, maybe it makes sense if it all pans out as whatever, because if you're a pure capitalist fuckboy and you will do literally anything and shit on anyone to make the most amount of money that you possibly can within the confines of the law, then yes, fucking take all that goddamn money, run it to the bank, whether you produce the product or not, to the fullest extent that you could, take it to the bank. But for a fair amount of people in business, just all the same, or somebody that could stop and think about it, they go, all right, hold on now. We have more than enough money to complete our concept. If this game is good, there are loads of people that are going to buy this shit when it launches regardless. Maybe to protect not only the customers and the fans, but also ourselves, we should slow this motherfucker down and then do what we can and finish the game, because I'm telling you right now, the fact that they said that they've got enough money to do this for a long time, I goddamn hope so, because they are more than 3 times the most expensive video game ever fucking made. 3 times. And the game hasn't even launched yet. So it's going to be even bigger by the time it comes around. They don't need that much money. Could they use it? Yes. But think about this for a second.
Destiny was over 500 million.
Destiny was 500 million in goddamn marketing
for the entire run of the game. It was on every billboard in Times Square.
That's what I'm saying. These guys are not even half that.
It was a 10-year development and marketing budget of $500 million. We are talking about a pure minimal marketing, in fact, zero marketing other than word of mouth and articles being done about the company. Pure development cost so far of $190 million.
No, they haven't spent 190
But they're
million. That's how
going
much-
to. You're telling me that they're going to.
They have 190 million from like total. That's revenue. They haven't
Yes.
spent that all. They pretty much said they've had enough to make the game for a while, but this is for all additional features and development. Like they're pretty
Yes.
much like they don't count this as profit or anything. Pretty much they're saying
Of
we promised the
course.
scope of the game.
Yes.
We can deliver that. It's coming and they're working on it. We have money afterwards, but since we have that money, we're allocating it to further agenda and pipeline design because effectively it's all pipeline. So
Which
at some
is, if
point,
you're
someone's
going,
gonna run out of work, so
which
they're
if
gonna
you-
be like, oh, work on that then.
which if you're going to make the Destiny comparison, you're still talking about you're talking about further development, which is what that 500 million was for. That 500 million was the
for
money
10
given
years.
was for 10 years of development and marketing. That is a monstrous amount of money,
That
but
was
it's
for Destiny 1 only.
And that's
that,
the
no,
game.
that was not
No,
for
that's
Destiny 1.
all of
That
Destiny.
is for
And-
Destiny.
And on top of that, the game is out. We're on another Destiny.
We're on to Destiny 2.
We're fucking there. The game has been played.
In fairness,
fucking-
Destiny 2 is shit, but we're
it
on
is
to
shit.
Destiny 2.
But we got a game. Well, we got it. We got games. They're out. People are playing them. They either love or hate them. It's done. People paid $69.99. They didn't pay $23,000 and change for a fucking ship they fly in Destiny.
Actually, no, yeah, I misread that. It was a 4-game
It's for
production. thing.
It's for everything.
decades.
That's the whole kit caboodle, top to
And
bottom.
190 million, and they still got their hand out. Please give us more. Please give us more. We're gonna make another constellation. We're gonna put the fucking Milky Way in it, and just fucking, it's just gonna be made of Benjis.
So
You're
I'm
gonna
just
fly through the Benjamin
I'm
Milky
just-
Way.
that shit makes me uncomfortable from the perspective that they are a bit abusing their situation more than they need to. And it makes the fact that the game is slow to come to fruition, it magnifies.
The scope creep problem is big. I will give you that.
It's a fucking problem. So yeah, so that's what I have to say about it. I think ultimately, if they do get to it in your timeline of 2 to 3 years, I'm gonna have to suck Chris's dick. Because I really and truly, I think they're going to be much further along. I don't think it's going to be in 2 to 3 years. I think you're looking 5 years minimum before we hit 1.0. And I still think I'm going to agree with Jeff that to the extent that
win.
that to the extent that when it does hit the 1.0 release, it won't come close to what people were imagining. And part of the problem that they're going to have, that I'm going to try and guess here, is that because they're slow burning the release of all these features one after another to keep people placated, to not
People
want
are
to
gonna
fucking
be like,
kill them. By the
"We've already
time
played this game."
when they say that the 1.0 gets released, a lot of people are going to go, but it's
Where's the game?
but we've
already
already
played
done,
this.
like we're already here, like we're already done. And does that make those people right to say that? No, but
No.
that still makes it a massive problem for them, because it's not going to be like, oh, we got a demo. Here comes the fucking 10x multiplier on the content of this game. That's not going to be the case, especially the way that you're describing how they're rolling this shit out. So I personally think that they're between a rock and a hard place, no matter how they slice this shit. And again, I will be shocked at 2 to 3. I think it's more like 5, and I think the release is going to be anemic compared to what the vast majority of people that have spent all this money on this game have put into it, because in no small part of the Joel Osteen bullshit effect that Chris has had with this entire thing and the scope creep. So, Godspeed to all those invested, whether you spend a few dollars or a few thousand, or in some cases, remortgaged your house and put your parents in crippling debt for a game that's like forever away. But for everyone else, there's MasterCard. Good luck with that. Mr. Black, hit me up with the sound of a little bit of TV and music.
TV and movies.
Movies, that's the word, not music. So I actually have nothing. I went to Screen Rant and I scrolled for 5 pages and I found dick. So if you guys have got us covered, please cover my ass. I went through 5 pages, nothing.
I got nothing for movies.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix, he's gonna play the Joker. It's official, in the origin. So that's happening.
That's so much better than the other guy. Completely forgot his name.
Oh, the
36 to Mars guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least we got a good actor. It's got like a $55 million budget. What else? There's
they had the Titans trailer today.
Oh shit! Did you watch? Did you? Oh yeah, the Titans. Yeah, I saw that.
So bad.
It looks terrible. I mean, all those. I find all those shows look bad. They just look so like
what,
under
the Teen
budget.
Titans one?
The DC Titans shit.
Like the Teen Titans thing that they're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Oh boy, I'm gonna watch it on mute.
It's bad. Yeah, and you know what? You know what else you should watch? You should watch the Uncharted. Did you watch the Uncharted short film?
Oh, the fan film. No, I didn't see it, but I heard that it was dope.
It was a fun watch.
It was pretty cool. So like, there's a lot of buzz with that right now. And beyond that, there isn't a whole lot. I went and saw the Rock's new movie, Skyscraper.
How was that?
It was
read a movie pass at some point.
Yeah, I used my movie pass thing too. I went and got that membership thing, which works great, by the way. The Cinemia.
Oh yeah.
So once again, shout out to the guy that told me about that. So I got like the 2-person pass. I pay $55 a month, and it gets me 3 movies per person, so 6 movies in total. And you can use that for IMAX, 3D, anything. So when you go, when the wife and I go in to see 2 movies each, we've already saved money, and then for the 3rd movie, we're way in the green. So, and we go and see enough movies a month that it makes sense. And if there's a time where she doesn't go, then you can use that for a friend, or you can use it for yourself, because it just gives you basically 6 movies to go and see. So it's definitely worth it. I highly recommend anybody that goes to the movies more than twice a month. Like if you go to the movies twice a month, you got to go and get this. And you can do a single one or a double one. You should look into getting that too, Adam. Like if you and Gabs go to the movies, or you want to, if you want to watch movies to like talk on the podcast, write it off. Go. It's a monthly membership, and it keeps you accountable because you want to go and spend your credits. You want to go to the movies, and it saves you money. Like literally saves you money. I just go to the IMAX. Usually IMAX costs you like $18.50 a ticket, and Bob's your uncle. You go and see 2 of those, and you're way like literally. I pay $55. I go and see one IMAX movie with the wife. That's basically like $38 that I would have spent right there. The next movie, boom.
Can you use it? Can you use it to like buy seats ahead of time and get to like choose your seats for IMAX? Can you use it in that way?
Yeah. So how it works is when you sign up, I paid an extra $5 to get it right away because they mail you a card. Like it looks like your scene Cineplex card, like a scene card. Which takes a bit of time, right? It takes like 7 or 15 days, or I don't know what it is. So you pay an extra $5, and they send you a digital card. And then they also will still send you your physical card, but you can basically get going. So say the next time you and the wifey wants to go see a movie, and you're like, well, I may as well just sign up for this now because I'm going to go and spend fucking $30-something at the theater. So I may as well go and buy it. You can buy it, pay $5 boost, and they'll give you the card. What you do is it's basically like a credit card. So when you got to go, you download the app, you go on the app, and you just go to your movie theater, and then you pick what movie you want to watch. It'll say the times that the movies are playing. You punch in, say, I want to go see the 7 o'clock Skyscraper in IMAX on Friday, and say this is Friday afternoon. So you do that. And then it'll say, are you sure? Like you got to make sure that all your shit is in correctly and the times are correct, because once you confirm, they know the algorithm looks up exactly how much the tickets will be, taxes included and everything, and they will, like a MasterCard, put that exact amount of money on that digital card, and then you go on the Cineplex website and you just buy your tickets, and then when you're at the checkout, so say you're going to the IMAX, you're going to go ahead and you're going to purchase 2 IMAX tickets. You'll pick your seats. So you don't actually pick your seats on the app. You pick your seats like you normally would when you buy it on the internet. And then when it goes to pay, you click on credit card, and then you put in the credit card number that they give you. And the card holder name is just like Cinemia. And then they give you your card number with an expiry date, and you put it in, and it works instantly.
Okay, and can you use that like on the Cineplex app as you add it as a payment option?
Yeah, it's just like a credit card. So,
okay.
So that
just answers my question of I can ultimately use the app or whatever to choose seats. You know, I just have to start with their app first, buy it, get that all set for the time that I want.
Yep.
Then
you use the Cineplex app, and then you get your seats. You pick your seats, and then you just check out like you normally would. Use a credit card, but instead of using your actual credit card, you're using the Cinemia credit card.
Yeah.
And it charges immediately. So, and literally, I've done it where I book the tickets, and then 5 seconds later, I buy it. There's no like delay. There's no like, oh, you got to wait an hour before the shit goes through. It is immediate, and it's
like
boom.
the same with my app. Like I can go in for the Movie Pass app, be like, I'm gonna go watch the movie. They'll be like, all right, what movie and time? You hit check-in, and then it'll just stay on your screen saying your card is active, and then you can go and buy it. And like, oh, I did it wrong. You can just be like, cancel check-in. It'll deactivate the card, and you can pick something else or go later.
Yeah,
so it's the same idea, but it's like immediate. Like I can just be like, I can be standing in front of the ticket kiosk and be like,
you can do it.
And then here you go.
Exactly. So that's what's nice about it. And the thing is, with Movie Pass, you can't use it for IMAX. You can't use it for 3D. You can pay like a bit extra, I think. Like there's like an add-on for it. But it works perfectly. Like I was like, this is too good to be true. Like I go to way too like I should have done this months ago. I would have saved like it will literally save me like $30 a month just from using that. It's a no-brainer. Like it's a literal no-brainer.
Send me that on Discord.
So there's actually a couple of things that happen in movie and other things. They actually have the trailer out for the new Dragon Ball movie. With Broly.
Yeah.
DC is apparently deciding that they're just going to go with even more B and C list heroes.
Great.
Other than the Titans, we're getting freaking Stargirl.
I watched the Titans trailer there muted. I'm happy I watched it muted.
Yeah.
That looks absolutely. I mean, when the pictures came out and what they did with like Starfire and shit, I was like, oh, they're already making this a social justice warrior fucking movie. I don't even want to see the rest of this shit. And now here we are, and it looks bad. Yeah. Great. So anyway, continue. Yeah, B is so bad. B characters.
Yeah, we're getting Stargirl in the Arrowverse. It looks like, which I actually like the Arrowverse. It's super campy and like cheesy, but for TV, it's lighthearted fun, so I'm all right with it. I don't know about that. And apparently we got a final teaser for Glass.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't watch any of it. I didn't watch any. I just want to go in just blind. Raw. I'm already sold on this. I'm already sold on it. I'm going, so like I just don't even want to see it. Yeah. I don't want to see anything. The poster looked great. Like I just saw the poster and
I saw the poster and I'm like, oh, they're doing that now. Nice.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to take a different spin on it, but they just went straight forward.
Yeah, but beyond that, there's not a lot of movie stuff going on. Like the Mission Impossible movie comes out this week. That looks really good. It's got some good reviews. All the Mission Impossibles are great anyway. So like, or at least from like 4 and up. So I'm expecting that to be good, and that's really about it. But Skyscraper was more of The Rock doing more of The Rock. There wasn't much.
Was he wearing a tan T-shirt and shorts?
No, not in this movie.
Wow.
He basically plays an amputee. Something tragic happens to him, and then he gets a different job on this big building in like Hong Kong or something, or China. I don't know. And he's like the head of security, and then shit goes awry. It's basically Die Hard. In 2018.
But The Rock.
The villains are sort of the same, cookie cutter villains. The Rock doing more of The Rock.
Summer blockbuster, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to give it a rating out of 10, it's like a 7. You know, it's a movie that is cool on a big screen with 3D because you're way up high and it's there's a lot going on there. They did well with the 3D aspect of it, but beyond that, like it could definitely be a movie you'll watch on Netflix and get the same pretty much enjoyment out of it. It's nothing you need to run out and see. In fact, it was like I felt like The Rock didn't even have much to do in it, and it's his movie. Like it felt like he just kind of phoned it in. Like it was just so easy for him to do this role, where it was just like watching The Rock work out. You know, it was like he was progressively getting more swole as the movie went on, and some of the stuff in it was super not believable. But at the same time, I feel like
that's where his movies have just been going in general for a while now. Maybe this is just the first one. Maybe this is just the first one where it's like super readily apparent that that's where The Rock is at right now.
Yeah, I mean it's listen, it works and it's making money and
yeah, of course,
like, you know, it's what The Rock does. But The Rock, like he just broke the Forbes list of all time actors that made money in a year. It was like $158 million he made, like in the last year, or some shit.
So what happens when you do like 6 movies a month?
Yeah, just guy doesn't sleep. Like, and when he does, it's just like naps, and that's the show. And he does a great job, but I feel like The Rock needs to get out of his comfort zone a little bit, and unless this is just what he wants to do, like if he just wants to be sort of, I don't want to say the Arnold of our generation because he's definitely a better actor than Arnold ever was, and in my opinion, he's a better action star too.
Not a high bar.
But I mean,
I still think that plays though, because it's not like people were complaining about Arnold's acting in the Terminator or some shit. So like, I think that still plays. Like he's the action star of our time. I think is a fair estimation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's the relatable action star. I think it's more of the charisma of The Rock that makes him great. Because you look at someone like Tom Cruise, who's an actual you know, action star. That isn't really, you know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is like a social media icon. Like he's the guy. He's just a different type of action star. Because he's really, even in all of his movies, there's action in it, but it's not really impressive action. It's just good, solid shit. It's just The Rock's, how much you love him as a person and how like charismatic he is. That's the selling point of all these movies. Like, sure, there's some impressive scenes and shit, but you know, you look at someone like Tom Cruise, who's a legitimate action star, who does all of his own stunts.
Well, Tom also has done spectacular comedy roles and spectacular dramatic roles. So, like, Tom Cruise is just a movie star. Like, he's done some of the biggest action films for sure, but that's why I would more readily say that The Rock is an action, you know, movie star, in that's... He's done some comedy stuff, which is basically what action movie stars do. They do like the action stuff, and they're like, let's do some slapstick comedy where I'm so big and I have a small guy next to me, and it's a funny dichotomy of big guy and small guy and buddy cop, and let's go. So, and I'm not saying The Rock is incapable of doing dramatic roles. It's very possible that he's got that in him and that we might see that in the future. But up to this point, it's not like he's you know, been out there doing, you know, Vanilla Sky and fucking The Last Samurai.
I guess the Arnold comparison is probably the best at this point. I can't really think of too many more actors that had the notoriety sort of their time as what The Rock has right now. Because there was a time where Arnold could put himself into anything and, you know, would fill seats in this theater and people just liked Arnold. So I guess so. I
feel
just
like The Rock is the Arnold of our generation.
Yeah, it makes sense, and he's even political, right? Like, you know, The Rock's going to run for president at some point. You know, Arnold went and became the governor of California or whatever. So they have all those things in common. I just feel like The Rock needs to switch it up a little bit. I just feel like his movies now are getting a little bit all the same. Like, it feels like if you've seen one Rock movie, you've seen all the Rock movies.
That's why I asked if he was in a brown t-shirt, tan t-shirt, and shorts, because there was like 3 movies he did back to back to back where he wore the same basic attire for like every single film.
Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is. It's working for him. He's making a shit ton of money. People still going to the theater. I'm still going to go and root on The Rock. But I would just love to see him push himself as an actor. I would love to, because I think he has it in him. We've seen some dramatic moments in certain movies with The Rock, and he pulled it off. but I think The Rock is getting in The Rock's way. I think.
Well, he's got that HBO show Ballers. Does he do? I've never watched it. Does he do dramatic shit in that, or is that just?
I haven't watched. I haven't watched it, but there's been a few movies that he's done in the past, like the Garden Gang or the Garden some shit. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Where it's like he's in there with a bunch of boys that are in trouble and shit, and then there was
Gridiron Gang.
Gridiron Gang, I think that's what it was. He did a little bit of dramatic stuff in that. And then there was another, I think it was Snatch or Snitch or something. He had a little bit of dramatic scenes in that, but beyond that, man, like, he's no Will Smith. Like, he's not going to, he's, if you put him in like The Pursuit of Happiness, right, and see what The Rock can do, it's just going to look weird with this huge fucking massive dude.
That's part of his problem, right?
Yeah, just like trying to be, he'd have to lose weight, become more believable.
Rock circa 2001.
Yeah, which, I mean, you never know which might happen. Like, if he does run for president, he'll probably have to lose some weight. And so maybe, as he's getting ready to do that, he might put in some.
I don't know. Americans might like a president that's super physically imposing. Let's go meet Vladdy. And there's The Rock, 6'5", 245 pounds. He does nothing but eat 12,000 calories a day and bench press cars. Like, let's maybe the Americans want that shit.
It's like Jim in the Oval Office.
Yeah,
he'll be the first one with a pull-up car.
I feel like The Rock has got one more generic movie in him before people are going, okay, Rock,
slow your roll.
We're gonna,
we need a quality push here.
Yeah, and like, you know what? Even if he wants to do what he's doing, he needs to step his game up. Like, the movies need to be written better. They just need to be better.
He needs to nail Hobbs. Like, Hobbs needs to be like knocked out of the park.
Yeah, and I think you will, but who knows? We'll see.
I think the Hobbs is going to show up in a tan pair of shorts and a t-shirt and do the exact same shit he's done in all these other movies. I'm going to be real with you. It's just going to happen inside the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the same shit.
Is there going to be a Zac Efron character in Hobbs?
I do not have high hopes for Hobbs. I think it's going to probably do massive numbers because it's Fast and the Furious and it's Rock. But otherwise,
but they got Idris Elba playing the bad guy now. I think it's going to be good, man.
I think that's more intriguing than anything.
About that?
Say what?
Were you
possibly,
here when,
maybe not.
It might have been the week you were off.
Yeah, when we talked about Idris
Elba. I actually said that for a Hobbs movie, I actually felt like Idris Elba might be like too high class as a villain.
I think
I'd want to know who he would get to throw down against The Rock. You're going to need an equally big guy to fight against The Rock.
But the Idris has got that
I
like
see Idris as like the cerebral guy.
Well, I see Idris as the gangster, as the guy you don't want to fuck with. Like, you saw him in The Wire. He's kind of like Denzel Washington in like the gangster movie where
American
he's got
Gangster?
his minions, American Gangsters, where he's got like his minions and his thugs, but like everybody's scared of him in his circle.
So it's not going to be like a one-on-one square up, you think?
I don't think
you're going to be the
gonna...
Elba organization against The Rock.
I think so. I think that's what it's going to be, or maybe he'll see him in prison and Idris is not the guy you want to fuck with, and some shit went down and now you got to deal with him. And I think that Idris,
I feel like he'll be a compelling character. I just don't know if he's necessarily for the franchise.
Well, I think it's great because you've got Jason Statham and you've got The Rock, both guys that can act, but they can't. They don't have those huge dramatic chops, or at least we haven't seen them. And just them two alone, it's just another action movie that's going to be fun. You throw in Idris Elba, and now you've got some substance. You've got something where. Maybe now the story feels real when you've got a real fucking master class of an actor in there, putting it down and elevating everybody's game to get on his level, and go up against somebody that can really deliver lines and really deliver, being whatever character he is. I think that's huge for the Fast and Furious franchise. Instead of having some other cookie cutter villain that's just fucking that's scared to go up against The Rock and Jason Statham on a star level, and Idris, sure, he's not as big of a star as say The Rock is. He's definitely bigger than Jason Statham.
I meant physical size.
Yeah, but I think that challenge is going to be in his ability to emote and his ability to make a character feel so real that it feels threatening, no matter what. And I think he'll beef up in this movie.
Kind of like the villain from Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be even better. I think it's gonna be like seeing a menacing Christopher Waltz. You know what I mean? Like seeing a real masterclass of an actor, but with physical and menacing demeanor, where you're just like, okay, Christopher Waltz, sure, he can play a bad villain in a Bond movie where he's just this cerebral type, like, mastermind, like, but you can't throw down. Like, if The Rock was standing in front of you, like, oh no, please don't do it. Like, yo, Bubba, get him. But I feel like Idris Elba was like, okay, motherfucker, is this what you want, right? Like, a guy that can take a punch, a guy that's not afraid. I feel like we're getting I just feel like, listen, Idris Elba was potentially gonna play Bond, right? And he would have fucking crushed Bond.
That was a miss that they didn't cast him.
There's still a chance. I think we're gonna see him down the road as Bond. So if you can picture Idris Elba playing Bond, I can picture Idris Elba playing a really meaty bad character.
I don't doubt his ability to act the character. I just feel like for Fast and the Furious, I've always felt like they do bank on like the action thriller blockbustery. I feel like he'd be kind of out of place if he's such a meaty and good character.
Well, here's the thing: this isn't Fast and the Furious, and I think that's what they're going for. I think that they're saying, guys, this is not another Fast and the Furious. The Rock wants to take this franchise from Vin Diesel so bad, and he's doing it, and he's a big reason why that it's been successful the way it is. And I think what they're going to do in this movie is they're going to take the fun of Fast and the Furious and characters that you love to get you in the seats, but they're gonna take this up to a more realistic, grittier, hardcore, more of a badass movie, and you can tell alone by Idris Elba. If you put Idris Elba in Fast and Furious 7, yeah, it's weird. But I think if you put him in a Hops movie where shit is gonna get down and dirty, and you don't have fucking Ludacris and Tyrese spitting jokes, and it's you've got fucking Wiz Khalifa singing sad songs for Paul Walker, and you get down there into a crazy prison breakout scene, and shit gets real, like a real fucking prison movie, and it's just raw and gritty, and you've got Idris Elba doing his thing. I think they're taking this to another level. I think they're going to elevate the franchise to make the next Fast and the Furious just feel like a funner version of the Hops trilogy. One that we're like, oh, okay, it was fun, but it was no Hops. And I think that's where we're going. It's not going to be about family. It's going to be about like fucking, hardcore shit. At least that's what I'm hoping.
It's going to be about Hobbs.
It's going to be about Hobbs.
That's what it's going to be about. I've already voiced my disdain for where the franchise has gone because The Rock stuck his dick in it. Like I've already gone down that road. But yeah, it's going to be about Hobbs. Let's be fucking honest. It's no longer Fast and the Furious. It's the Hobbs and the Furious. Is basically what that franchise has become.
It's Hobbs and he's furious.
Yeah, it's Hobbs and he's furious. Exactly.
Fast and Hobbs.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Fast and the Furious get more gritty and stuff. I think the first Fast and the Furious movie was kind of that in its own way. It didn't have the actors with the fucking gravitas that Idris Elba has, but the tone of the movie, other than being family, fucking Matt Damon, whatever. Other than it being about family, it was certainly a darker toned movie than pretty much every other movie that came out after it. Shy of the last 15 minutes of the seventh movie, obviously. But, that's always kind of been how I saw it was, and that's why I missed the originals. I know they'd never fly in today's market, but the original movie I always thought was the best of the bunch in that it wasn't just some sort of pure, what can we make these cars do on the back of a 18-wheeler across a fucking gorge in the Rocky Mountains.
Cars can do.
Yeah, like there was more story to it.
But at some point, you don't want to say how many thousands of dollars can we put in this Acura. You know what I mean? With ground lights.
I'm not saying that it had to stay like the tuner scene at all or anything like that.
They're going to do boats and planes.
It's gonna be what's gonna become like the fucking what's that game that just came out?
Crew.
The Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be the
Like,
Crew.
we don't know how to do
What's
racing,
nice-
so we'll put in boats and planes.
What's nice about the Hobbs is when his character first came in, it was different than it was almost like another movie came into the Fast and the Furious and they kind of smashed each other. It was like
new dynamic.
it was no longer that racer racing type shit. It was more of like, okay, now it's an action movie. You know, now there's other stakes involved. Like now everybody is this crazy, I don't even know. They went from like being a mechanic to fucking,
Superheroes, super
MI6.
agents.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So I think what's nice is they're going to be able to get away from all of that Fast and Furious stuff and just use the name to fill the seats and then kind of make their own sort of franchise, their own sort of vibe within that. Because I think once you take away the lighthearted and the jokes, and I'm sure that there'll be those jokes between characters that more of butting heads that are funny instead of, like I said, Ludacris and Tyrese, talking about each other's cornrows or some shit, then I think we're going to get a better, a more focused tone of a movie, which is going to make more sense. That's my thought.
I can buy into that.
When are we getting more Luther? Because that's what I'm really interested in with Idris Elba. I don't give a fuck about all this other shit. I don't want to know when we're getting more
I
Luther.
feel like with his movie career shooting off,
Probably
we're
not
gonna
a
see that for
lot.
a little while.
Yeah, probably not for a
But
while.
Luther was it's such good TV. Oh my god.
Luther was amazing, and so
If you guys
that's
haven't watched Luther, it's a BBC show. Go
find a
watch
way.
it. It's like so good.
It is incredibly good.
It's a bit of a slow burn initially, but it's like it'll mess with your head.
It's very, very well done. Mr. Black, hit me up with the tech support.
Tech support.
Nailed it. All right, so to play off of the movies and stuff here, we do have a question here about that. Let's go. Oh, it's from MD. $90 lifetime, $10 current. Let's go.
Thank you.
Asks, what's the saddest scene you've seen in a movie or TV series?
The saddest?
The saddest
Hard one to quantify.
scene in movie or TV show?
It's a good question.
I'm trying to think of one of each. I'm trying to think of like a movie scene that got me and then like a TV show.
I got my movie scene. This is super cheesy, and it might have been because I was young, but in Armageddon, when Bruce Willis is like, I'm not going to be able to come home.
Yeah, that
That
got me
one.
when I was like 12.
Yeah, like I remember just the emotion from that one. I'm like, wow. But I don't know. There's just a lot now.
Okay, so for TV, damn, the saddest thing, man, I haven't seen that many sad TV shows because I just stay away from the depressing shit anyway.
I've seen a lot of sad stuff on TV, but it's all kind of blurred together now. There is no
Yeah.
one that stands out to me.
I know. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith's Why Didn't He Love Me or Why Doesn't He Love Me scene
Oh yeah, that was
one's
pretty
a big
good.
one. That was a big one.
Yeah,
is probably
That was like
a
one of
top
the only
contender.
silent closeouts for that show too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a fucking good scene of television. God damn. That was some shit.
I might actually have to agree, man.
That was some shit.
That might be the one.
I haven't seen many other sad. Like I haven't watched like
That
This
show
Is
holds
It or
up,
This
too.
Is Us or whatever the fuck that sad, depressing shit is. So yeah, that was good. For movies, I mean, I've seen a lot of sad shit in movies, man. I'm gonna go with John Q.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with John Q. Man, that gets me every time. There's a scene where Denzel is going into the hospital, or where his son is basically dying, and Denzel is sitting at the foot of his bed, basically telling him, just pouring out his soul, and basically, and then at this point you're like, fuck, Denzel's dying or this kid's dying, or it's just a super emotional, just because it's Denzel. I mean, Denzel, just the acting is just on another level, and just the relatable shit. Like if you have a father, and I mean everybody has a father, but if you have like a father-son relationship, whether it's conflicted or you've got the perfect father-son relationship or whatever, and you kind of put yourself in that shoes. I couldn't even imagine being a father and having a child and having the child go through that and then being in that situation. It would probably break me up even more. But just seeing him pour his soul out, man, that shit is fucked. So that's pretty damn sad. That was probably the saddest thing I've ever seen. But I mean, there are tons of sad movies, man. I mean, I could fucking list off a shit ton of movies that are super sad. I mean, even Fast and the Furious, man, when they did a send off for Paul Walker, it was like
that was
had
like a real life tie-in, right?
Yeah, so and it was like a sad, but it was like a happy sad, where you weren't happy that he passed away, but you were happy that he was getting this tribute, and then you were like happy and thankful for all the and you didn't realize how much you loved the whole series. It just kind of tied everything, and with the music, the soundtrack, and the acting, and you could tell all the actors were just fucking crushed, and there was like no acting involved. It was just everybody was a mess. It was like, damn, fuck, that is some sad shit. I was holding back tears when I was watching that shit. So that was pretty sad too. But I still got to go with John Q, man. John Q is just fucking sad, dude.
Saving Private Ryan also, actually.
Yeah, that was all right.
The bridge scene.
Yeah, that was sad, but it wasn't on the level of some other shit that I've seen. Unless you've got it really depends. It's all very personal because people get emotional.
On, the age you watched it.
Yeah, like people get emotional over certain things. Like, if you lost a family member or a parent or a sibling in combat or something, and then you're watching, Saving Private Ryan, or you're watching some other war related movie, and somebody makes a heroic sacrifice, or whatever. That is going to have a much harder impact to somebody that have gone through that brings out emotion. So it's a very personal thing where, certain movies will do that, or even certain shows. Like, there's certain documentaries that I watch that get me emotional just from watching certain things, those sort of things. Even like some like slavery movies that I've seen, like the not Django, but the other one there, 12 Years a Slave. Yeah. Damn, man, that's a powerful movie. That shit, moves me in ways because, being a black guy and not playing that card, but my family is that, and my family is very, into history, and very I just brought up in that sort of environment where you learn about it and you pay your respects. It's kind of like somebody, like I said, in the Army, where, when you say thank you for your service, people really mean that shit. Like, they've had people that made sacrifice. So it's really all dependent on the person.
Yeah, I've got
when he sold Wilson.
Oh yeah, Wilson.
The way he sold that scene was incredible.
Yeah, he did a really good job with that shit. The opening of Up.
Oh my god.
Is fucking raw.
Yeah, that's sad too.
The ending, the end of the battle at the end of the movie of The Last Samurai, where
I was thinking about that one too.
Where he dies, because it was more representative. It wasn't just that he was dying. It was representative of everything the movie culminated in. Plus, it was like the genesis of the end of an era of samurai. Yeah. And so it was like a very weighty moment for a number of reasons. And and then when I was younger, a scene that got me was when I first saw the movie Jack with Robin Williams, and he's at the school for the first time, and a ball gets kicked under a bench that he's near, and he goes to pick it up and throw it over, and the kids are just fucking picking on him to all shit. I got to relate to that because I was 55 times bigger than everyone else when I was in school, and I experienced basically the same shit. So when I was younger and I watched that was like a fucking a super, like you were saying, it was a super relatable moment, right?
Yeah,
so when I was younger and I saw that, it became a personal a personal thing. And that movie is fucking sad in general. I went back and watched that when I was older. I was like, the fuck was I watching this shit when I was a kid? Shit was depressing. It's about a kid who's aging at like the speed of fucking light. He just ends up like his life ends just as he exits, like, and everyone else's life begins. Like like in this, like when he's 21 or some shit, or 22. That was, yeah. So that was one. And then in Good Will Hunting, the "It's Not Your Fault" scene is another good one.
Yeah, there's a lot of sad shit out there. There's a lot of movies that pull on the heartstrings, the good old heartstrings. So
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
We gave them all kinds.
That's lots to choose from there.
Oh yeah, The Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah, man. That was fucking.
Yeah,
that was like, it wasn't even. Well, there was a couple of sad parts in The Pursuit of Happiness. Like there's one where Will Smith brings his son into like the train station's bathroom, and he's gonna like pretend that they're in the jungle, or like they're running from shit, and he's actually running from like security and shit, and that was really sad. Especially when you get older and you kind of
it's just fucking real.
Yeah, it's just real. But what got me even more in The Pursuit of Happiness is when he gets the job at the end, and Will Smith's the performance that he gives is in fucking sane. Like, you're so happy for him, and like he is just so, he can't believe it. He was ready for this guy to tell him like, that's it, you're done, your dream is dead, it's over, you know. And when he says, you know, you're gonna have to get a new suit because your first real day is tomorrow, and then he the way he sells it, where he just slowly, like, this realization of like, holy fuck. And it's almost like there's this layer of like, holy shit, I've done it. And then there's like another layer where he goes, oh my God, I can't wait to tell my kid. And then there's another layer of like, hold the possibilities. And there's like another, it's almost like as he's walking out, he's fumbling shit. And then he gets outside and he's looking around, and it's Wall Street, and everybody, New York is doing New York, but nothing else matters. And it's just him in this moment. And he's like, he can't fucking, he just starts like clapping, and man, it was like, I'm like, God damn. And you've got like fucking Hans Zimmer in the background, fucking pulling his nutsack out on the fucking, on your eardrums. You're just like, holy shit, the experience I'm getting right now. I just want to go and become an astronaut and fucking cure cancer. And it's just crazy. That was some real shit. That's some good shit. That's like happy, sad tears.
It was also the last time his son was in a movie that was worth watching.
Yep.
Coincidence? I think not. Let's see what else we got here. Goose, who again just killing it with these questions lately. $20 lifetime, $10 current pledge. So he's still fresh. What is the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen at a party?
At a party? The most ridiculous thing.
This one's disgusting, but I have one.
All
right, what do you got?
You know how I once saw a guy start to throw up, catch it in his hand, and put it back in his mouth.
Ew, come on.
But it started the chain.
Ew.
Yeah. That was pretty disgusting. And ridiculous.
I was at one of the few parties I went to when I was, 18, 19 or whatever, just around the end of high school, or just in high school, I guess. Yeah, I would have been like 17 or something. One of the few I went to house parties. And one of the guys was absolutely, it was one of those guys that was like, when he got hung up on a girl, he got really fucking hung up on a chick. And unfortunately, he always seemed to pick girls that were so outside of his league that it was never going to work out. And this one chick, unfortunately, he felt like she led him on a little bit. And at the party, he stumbled across her making out with this other guy. And so his rage-o-meter went to like fucking over 9,000 because he was trying to struggle with these these young man emotions, seeing what all the possibilities of what could have been, what that could have been him.
You could have been,
but it wasn't. And he was fucking hammered. I mean, like really, like one of those types of hammered where he got past the point where he didn't really stumble around anymore, but he had a problem stopping. In terms of stopping himself from walking. He'd gotten past the point where he was trying to walk deliberately, and he had just let himself go, and he'd just be in this perpetual state of almost falling forward, so he wouldn't go back and forth, but he'd be walking really fast, like on a fucking angle down like this. And he got really
falling.
Like a perpetual state of falling. So he got really fucking salty, and he was getting really loud, and he made a scene of it, and then nobody saw him for a while. And people just thought that he fucked off and went home. And then all of a sudden, I was standing in the kitchen, and it was like a split entry, but you came in on the mid floor. It wasn't like, well, it wasn't. It was a split entry, but there was a hallway that went out to the kitchen, and you just heard this big fucking bang, just super loud. It was above the music. It was above everything else. There was about 100 people at this party. It was monstrous. So it was a loud bang, and I felt the floor kind of shake, and I was like, the fuck was that? And so I started to go look and investigate, and there's this motherfucker who had gone upstairs, and when to use the washroom, and when he came back, he was still walking in the perpetual state of falling, and he just straight fucking moonwalked his ass off the top of the stairs, and it was a full flight, fucking 15, 16 step. And he caught obviously the first couple of steps. Like he had the athletic ability to at least feet touch the first couple, but then he was flying in air. And his head hit the wall at the front of the house next to the door, the front door, and his head went through the fucking drywall, thankfully between some studs, through the drywall, and so you just saw this lifeless corpse at the bottom of the stairs, his head through the drywall. And people didn't know what to do because everyone else was fucking hammered. The owner of the house was like,
well, that happened.
Fuck. And so eventually he got hauled out of there and dragged. Somebody drove him home. But yeah, there was a nice head-size hole in the drywall when that was all said and done. It was pretty good.
Drove him home?
Somebody else, somebody drove him home. Oh, he wasn't cut up too bad.
He was only head through drywall.
You know, and he was really drunk.
Off.
He was really drunk. So when you fall, when you're drunk, you're actually like a little safer because you don't like tighten yourself up.
Yeah.
So and we were like in high school. So if you just took him to the hospital, parents would find out. You know, you stop thinking about that because you're still invincible when you're 17. So you're like, oh, he's fine. It wasn't that bad. So, he got taken home. But there you go. Big asshole.
Brain matter still in head, good to go.
Absolutely. He wasn't a particularly intelligent guy anyway, so it didn't matter.
Okay, so all right, so I'm not going to go with the craziest story because there's been, like, I've told a couple of stories before. Like, I've told the story when I was over my buddy Wayne's when I was staying in his closet for like fucking 9 months. And we all got hammered, and Danielle shit all over the apartment and puked all over the apartment. I've already told that story at some point in LAGTV, so I won't say that again. I think I've already told a story before, at least on my stream, about the first time I did shrooms. That was crazy. And so I won't tell that again. What I will say that I've never said before, it's not really it's nothing crazy, but it's kind of the complete opposite of Adam's story. So I was at a party, and same group of people that used to party all the time, and there was a bunch of hot chicks there, and there was a bunch like of the regular chicks that we normally hang out with, but there's a couple of hot chicks from a different school. And anyway, there was a group of us. And, we're all like relatively attractive guys. Like, we didn't have any problem with girls, essentially. Obviously, I have friends that are like fucking studs. And then, then there's like us where it's like, hey,
Kyle.
What, fuck. Yeah, we got like my buddy Kyle, who's like the sexiest man in the world.
If only Kyle was about 1.5 feet taller.
Man, if he was 1.5 feet taller, bro, I wouldn't even let him over my house. I'd be like, listen, I gotta make sure Kayla's at work or fucking somewhere else because I don't trust anybody
Isn't
around
Kyle's
Kyle.
sister also a smoke show?
Yeah, she is, but she looks so much like Kyle that it's
that's
hard to get that out of your head. Which if I'm fucking a dude, it's gonna be Kyle.
Yeah,
so I mean, it's whatever.
Fair
but
ball.
Anyway, so we're at this party and there's one guy, I won't say his name, that we used to hang out with all the time. He is. I don't even know if you know him, Adam. You might know him to see him. But anyway, he was like definitely the most not attractive dude there. Like he was the guy that never really got with any at the time. We never seen him with any girls, right? Like, it was just he would talk about girls where he'd be like, yeah, man, she's got a fine ass or whatever, or look at them tits or whatever, and be like, yeah, man, yeah. And he would kind of chime in, but while we were all like, fucking chicks in tents and getting, making out with chicks or whatever, he would be sort of on his own or like drinking with other people or whatever. Like he was a partier but never got laid. So we're all hanging out. We're playing like truth or dare. We're just like a bunch of fucking horny teenagers. And we're just looking for reasons to fuck or get blowjobs or whatever, right? We're just looking for reasons. And the girls want to do it too, but they need to be like dared to do it so that there's purpose in what they're doing instead of being sluts or whatever the case may be. We're all fucking sluts and we're all trying to get a nut, okay? So anyway, we end up daring. There's these two fucking smoke show chicks, right? Like girls that back in the day would have been like I would have considered out of my league, right? Nothing's impossible until you try, right? Like if I was a single man now, in my opinion, there's no girl that's out of my league. Like I would just go for it. Like, you know what I mean? I just
you
be
gotta
like,
have that mindset though.
You gotta like, but back in the day when you're a teenager and you're insecure and whatever, who knows? Like there was this lane that I was in where I was bagging like on a good solid chick. It would be like an 8.5. I know it's horrible that we're putting numbers on girls' looks right now, but ladies, you do it too. So it's all good.
Everyone
does
like
an 8.5 from you, good. 7s all day. Like it'd be like 7s, super confident. I could go in, bag them 7s. There'd be nothing. Like an 8.5 would be like, I got to tell my buddies about this, right? But these chicks here, these were like dime pieces, 9.5 in the low. Like these were like, 17-year-old fucking bombshells with like the titties that are still developing, like ripe ass shit. That's like that.
Don't go back to the fucking pulsating titty jokes again.
Listen, I don't give a shit. I'm just telling you the story as it is. Like obviously, I'm not into 17-year-old chicks now, but I'm saying back in the day, I'm trying to paint a picture for you guys right now. All right, okay. For story's sake, they're 18. Okay, so there's these beautiful 18-year-old chicks with these fucking ripe ass titties that are just like they want to show them off. If Instagram was a thing back then, there'd be selfies galore. You'd be like, holy shit, what I would do to get inside that. You'd have a late night fat sessions. It'd be fucking, that's the type of shit that was there. And back in the day, I wasn't an ass man. I don't really think many teenagers were ass men back in the day. Like it was just all about tits and like blonde hair.
I was an ass man, continue to be.
Okay. Hey, there you go. I mean, I didn't really discover a fine ass until I was like 20 years old. When I was like 20,
it's not a particularly
it was like
common,
a mind shift.
Yeah.
It was like a mind shift. Like before it was just like, I would, it'd be tits. So I want to see tits. Like if a girl was walking down the hall in high school, I'd be like, that ass. Like I might have said that a couple times, but there was no yoga pants back then. There was no like fucking Lululemons back in the day, right? It was just like girls were wearing fucking baggy jeans and shit. It was both in tees. So anyway, these chicks, they had amazing racks, man. And their faces were on fucking fleek. Their hair was just like, it was like the show. It was like every dude in there. Sure, we all had our girls, but like we were all wishing we could be inside these chicks. So these girls were playing truth or dare. And the guy and every time we get to the dude, he would always pick truth, like every time. Like he just didn't want to do dare because he didn't want to get embarrassed if like nobody wanted to do this or whatever. So anyway, I don't remember who spoke up. If it was me or if it was Dustin or whoever, but somebody spoke up. And we dared one of the girls, because the girls, they were picking dare like motherfuckers, right? We dared both the girls to give this guy a blowjob in front of everybody. So the dude.
Wow, you really went for the fucking nuts on that one, didn't you?
Did we ever? So it started with, all right, we dare you to give this dude a BJ, right? And then one of us piped up and we said, no, actually, we dare both of you to give this dude a BJ. So we never thought it was going to happen, right? Like there was just no way that this was going to happen.
Well, that's setting the bar
like,
really high.
There's just no way, like
shooting for the moon.
And of course, this guy, he wasn't saying no about this, but he was like, he was I could literally see his heart fucking like pounding from his chest. Like,
please tell me
right?
that it happened and he was hung like a fucking horse, because that was the only way this story is amazing.
So anyway, everybody's going, okay. Is this gonna happen? So the girl, this wasn't like an instant no. This wasn't like, nah, fuck, I ain't doing that shit. The fucking first girl looked at the second girl, right? And and at that point,
gauging interest.
At that point, we're going, holy fuck. Shit. Like so you're saying there's a chance, right? That's what it was. The girl looked at that girl and she was staring, the other girl was staring at this dude, and then she makes eye contact with the other girl, and then the first girl says, yeah, I'll do it. And we're like, oh no. We're like, you gotta, we're like, yeah, do it. And then at this point, the dude was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like he like, this was like, holy fuck, right? And then you could start to see the other guys in the circle. There's probably only about, I say there was like maybe 4 or 5 chicks, and there was like 6, maybe 7 dudes. Like he was sort of the odd end, and most of the guys all had like already had girls. Like, I had my chick with me. I don't want to say names.
At this point, I'd be going to the washroom.
Everybody's paired up except for this dude and these 2 other chicks that are typically like have been around us before, but not. These aren't regulars. This is like,
I'd be washing my dick at this point. I'd be getting ready.
So anyway. The one girl says, yeah, I'll do it. And then everyone's like, oh shit. And the other girl said, okay. And we're like, oh, okay. And so this dude was like, are you serious? And they're like, yes. So they start crawling over to him, right? And we're in a tent. Like we're in a big fucking, like an 8-man
I can
tent.
just see Jeff's face.
Right. Oh, that's what it was, right? So
just
I'm going,
gaping.
oh my God, right? And we're all going, and we're all like cheering on. We're all cheering on this guy because you got to understand, this is the dude that typically does not like get with chicks. Like this is the dude, like this is a dream come true, right? And the 2 hottest chicks are willing to do this. So anyway, what they do at the start is we have blankets in there and shit. So they put over the blanket so nobody can see anything. And he undoes his pants, he takes his boxers off, and he literally like throws them to the side, and we're going, is this fucking real?
Oh my God.
And next thing you know it, he's sitting there, right? And there's movement going on underneath the blankets, and he's sitting there, and I don't think he's ever got his dick sucked in his life. I mean, I don't know. I never asked him, but he goes from that to, and he like, he has a smile on his face, and then he just goes, and he just closes his eyes, and it ensues, right? But after, and we're all going, what the fuck? And we're all looking, we're all going like that. And I'm looking at my boys. We're like, yes. And there are other girls that are in there like, come on now, this is it. And they're sitting there bitching and going on, right? And we're like, fuck yeah, let's go. We're giving them like little fist pumps on the side and shit. And then it starts to get hot. So these girls are like, yeah, we got to take down these blankets. And so they take down the blankets, and lo and behold, these 2 chicks are slobbing and knobbing on his cobbin, and we're just like, oh shit!
No!
We're like, let's fucking go. So anyway, this goes on for a while, and he can't come, right? So like they're going
That's performance anxiety, bro.
They're going for what seemed to be like 15-20 minutes, right? And like, the guy's rock solid. He's not hung like a horse, but he's got nothing to be ashamed of.
He's not a micro dick.
No. He's got a penis, right? He's got a fucking penis, like a penis that.
At that point, who cares how big your dick is? You've won the lottery.
So anyway, they're all slobbing and dobbing, and we continue to play the game. So like these chicks are blowing this dude, and we're still playing, and it goes on for a while, and like he starts making noise and shit, right? He's like, ugh. right? He starts like grinding shit, and it starts to become awkward. So we all
Of course it. How is it not awkward before that?
Yeah,
You just get his dick sucked in the tank.
Dude, it was fucking weird. Like we were people. So anyway, everybody's horny, right? So we all just end up fucking off and going in our own tents and doing our thing, and they end up finishing at some point. But
God,
we were weird like that, dude. Like I remember one time in particular, we were down in fucking Dustin's basement, and we're once again, I don't know, we're playing truth or dare or something. We're like, yeah, dare you guys to have sex, and they just fucking just start banging. We're just sitting there like playing video games, like right next to us, we're just fucking banging. That's what we did. Like that was what we did back in the day, man. Like we didn't give it. Nobody cared.
Apparently,
like, nobody gave a shit, dude. Because I mean, you think about it. Like every weekend, and then in the like during school time, and then in the summer.
Oh yeah,
like,
summer. Yeah,
we were going over to the island.
Yeah,
and it was like a fuck fest. Like that's all we did. So like everybody would hear everybody would see everybody. We'd go skinny dipping. Nobody cared. It was just like we didn't have anything like that, but it was as close as it gets. Like that was it. So that was sort of like the opposite of your story, where the guy, and funny enough, after that thing, the dude's confidence went up tenfold.
Shit.
And he was getting laid, like not on the regular, but it wasn't out of the norm to have this guy getting laid, with other chicks, and he ended up getting a girlfriend in the group, and that was the show. But yeah,
props to the chicks for not being, I mean, you don't know when this guy's last washed that his dick. You don't know what's going on, what he's been touching around on his dick.
But when you're 17, 18 years old, you don't really, dude. I never, honest to God, when I was 16, 17 years old, and, at the time, like I had one steady girlfriend, I wasn't like any type of like a player or man whore until I was like 18, 19 years old. So when I was 16, 17 years old getting laid or whatever, that wasn't really something I probably should have. As you get older, then you kind of you take more inventory in yourself, where you're just like, okay, do I fucking smell? Do I need to take a shower? Like,
I don't think he would care. I was just like, I feel like if whoever's doing the sucking is probably a little bit more readily concerned.
I mean, we were in a tent full of like 8, 9 people. It was already hot and sweaty, and it was like they were underneath the blanket, and it got to the point where it's like, take the blanket off. So that was that, man. But I always have a good, and we talk about it like when the boys are over, we always fucking chuckle about it. But like two chicks,
God's sake,
two chicks blowing the dude, man, it was cool.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Well, on that amazing note, we're gonna wrap up the podcast, ladies.
Yeah. Excellent.
Top
that one.
Yeah, you can't really go north from there, or in his case, can't go any more south. We're gonna skip my Patreons up here so I can properly do my thing. There we go. Shoutouts as always to Jetrix, Postal Panda, Matt M, Chico, Toad of Steel, Black Jimmy, Jamaican Jazz, Adam B, Derek P, Martin K, Soft Shoe, Mr. Miyagi, Game Cock Toss, because why not? And many, 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 many others. Many others.
Everybody.
Thank you. Legends, the lot of you. That's going to be it for this week's podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help support the show and help it continue on so that you can hear more stories about questionably aged individuals blowing each other in tents, then head on over to patreon.com/technicalalpha and hook yourself up and maybe even get a little bit of something for yourself. I'm not promising that we're going to play Truth and Dare and you're going to get your rocks off, but there's stuff that can happen. And if you want to catch the podcast off of YouTube or even here on Twitch, you can head on over to technicalalpha.audio. You can catch where all of the RSS feeds are. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play Music. You can download right there from their website. We're still not on Spotify. That'll happen eventually, but it's not there yet. And that's going to be it for now. And so until we see you guys next week, thank you once again for stopping by and or listening to this later on. And have a good one. Peace.
Bye.